And welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles.
Yay!
It is I, your host for tonight, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can also find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can also find me at CBCaps on Instagram. And that sound effect you hear is brought to you by the man, the myth, the legend, our man in Brooklyn, @1agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram.
What's up, everybody?
We're Brooklyn at! We're Brooklyn at! We're Brooklyn at!
And also, surprisingly, with us tonight, we apparently have gained another allotment of one PCN_dirt, whom you can find at PCN_dirt on Twitter, popculturenetwork.com, popculturenet on Twitter, and his umbrella sites therein.
Springfield, it's a hell of a town.
And he's also back on my so I almost forgot about that. Yes.
Yeah, I was about to say it again. On pipe. There you go.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have made sure to plug that in the last couple of weeks. We're just like, I don't know that with us. He's up.
Oh no!
Then you're doing something, then I guess. Hey, that's how this internet is how it happens. So yeah, and not with us tonight. One Tim DOGG98 is not with us tonight, and you can find him at that on Twitter. You can also find him at CBCron on Twitter, The Click Nation on Twitter, theclicknation.com, and also at Comic Book Resources, where he's over there writing his face off. You can find this here podcast on the on CSPN.us. That's the Coastal of the Podcast Network.
Do it today.
Exactly. You can also find this at your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the Coastal of the Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. Sometimes you just gotta flop through it. And here,
there it is.
there you go. We should probably start putting it back on the Click Nation, but that's the whole thing I had to start to Tim about. But hey, until then, first off, happy anniversary to you guys. We are one day away from 7 years of Comic Book Chronicles. The day after this recording, which would be the 28th of February, is the anniversary of the founding of Comic Book Chronicles.
Wow.
Which almost lined up if it had been like 3 episodes earlier. But we could have had, could have lined up something. But hey, that's how things go. So, but hey, nevertheless, we will still have content. And one of these days that the year-end show will actually will happen. Hey, not unlike the draft, the comic book draft that we had at one time that never got finished. That I still see stuff for when I look at Gmail. I'm like, wow, I remember that.
That's fun.
I mean, if you want to put in the work, you do it now. I'm just saying, yeah. It's like I'm not gonna take the time to do that one right just yet. It's bad enough when we did the 300 show. I had to piece together that one and never put it back out. But hey, you know what? Some stranger things have happened. Who knows? But anyway, we are going to get started with the comic books of the week, starting with Avengers number 31.
Right. So this is actually the resolution to a long simmering subplot, dangling plot thread that Jason Aaron has left for several months now.
Yeah.
And
weird enough, it still feels like it kind of got rushed, but maybe that's just me.
Oh, I guess it's because we're just not used to actually this much reading in a comic. No, and I see PCN_dirt chuckling because given the decompressed nature of storytelling in comics that has been prevalent for like the last 10 years, 15 years, this book actually had a lot of text in it. Had a lot
Not
of
only that, but I think even Avengers, if I'm not mistaken, is still every 2 weeks, and there's usually something popping off. And usually, like the books that are kind of a week, a month at a time, kind of get shuffled under because like, oh wait, what happened like a month ago, type of situations. But this was like the Avengers being 2 weeks, and then other stuff's going on at the same time. That this is just getting back to.
right, but I think this is Jason Aaron really weaving a tale for he's definitely setting the stage for a much longer story, a much bigger story. This is his Thor style of storytelling, and we are definitely getting something, a plan being hatched involving Iron Man and his flashbacks. His flashbacks to something that happened in his childhood and some time travel hijinks that have ensued as a result of Infinity Gems being scattered around the world again.
Right, but apparently 2 of them are seemingly in one place, thanks to this issue.
Right, or at least at different times. So
yeah, and one of them happens to be time. So there you go.
Exactly, and that's how that comes into play. Without going too much into the story, we find out where Iron Man has been or when and who he runs into there. And it's not just cave people, it's actual we actually get some of the involvement of the 1 million BC Avengers, as well as an oft used villain from recent comics.
Yeah, he's definitely all over the place, which we still haven't figured out how in the world he's all over the place, and yet he still happens to be in the place that he has been since like late last year.
Right, supposedly locked up, and that's a big clue as to who we're referring to.
Right, Damnation, Dirk.
Exactly.
So, you know who we're talking about. Oh, excuse me, sorry, Darnation. I forgot about
that. That's right. The variant cover.
Yes. So I'm still under the impression that there's clearly something going to be going on big time with him because he's still kind of popping up all over and the revelation that happened. Well, I don't know if I want to call what happens with him in this issue a revelation. It's just basically him being him and has a pawn that is directly tied to Tony.
Right.
That may have something to do with that flashback that he had to the past. Some would argue retcon, but that's the kind of stuff we haven't seen, so can't really call it that.
Right. I mean, it's definitely been hinted at. I mean, not this specific aspect of Howard Stark, but a much darker past, a much darker history for the character has been hinted at over the past several years. So I think this has just, this is just expanding upon that that direction. Maybe not story thread, but definitely expanding in that direction.
Well, I was going to ask you, has any of that played out in Tony Stark Iron Man?
Not specifically, but definitely giving Howard Stark a much more sinister aspect or side to him, I think is definitely something that has been explored over the last several years. So I did not find this all that surprising, to be honest.
I kind of did, but at the same time, it's like, okay, yeah, we're given everything that's been in play in this issue. It's like, okay, clearly there's something going on here, and especially with what they seem to be working with or working towards,
right?
And all of this, I'm like, yeah, I can't say that I could be that surprised either. So at first, I was like, wait, is he actually his dad? Or I mean, we know the state of Howard and Tony's relationship now, but the revelation that quote unquote happened in this issue was like, well, wait, that's the case, or that's just Mephisto?
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say that's a little bit of misdirection, probably.
Right.
Exactly. I can't say for sure.
Right. So, but I guess we will find out. I don't know. Did you catch the typo that was in there?
Pointed out. I remember. I literally just finished reading this as we were going on the air.
Gorgilla.
Is that a typo?
I think so. Yes.
Sure, that's not a character.
Pretty certain. Well, I don't know. Maybe it is, but when I looked it up, I didn't see Like I didn't see anything that hinted towards that. I'll put it that way. I don't know. Let me see.
As we consult the Google.
Because so basically there was a gorilla with a spoiler alert. There was a gorilla with a
Gorgilla's a character.
Gorgilla?
Yeah, Gorgilla.
Yeah, it is. Gorgilla Marvel.
Let's see. And is searching for the missing link, Dr. Anthony Druid journeyed to Borneo, where he discovered a more startling creature. One was, let's see, blah, 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 blah. Gorgilla dwelt in peace in the Midnight Mountain in Borneo.
Yeah.
Slave of the deviants, created from their genetic experiments.
Well, I'm looking at Marvel's wiki, and this person, well, I guess this does look kind of like him. But so basically, Gorgilla shows up in 1 million BC with a Infinity Stone.
Right, a version of Gorgilla, right.
Right.
So it's Dr. Druid and the Monster Hunters had adventures with Gorgilla. Other encounters were recorded in the journals of Reed Richards. He battled the Avengers, rehabilitated in the Baxter Building. He later aided Fing Fang Foom, Goo Gam, and Electro against the massive Timbu Ba.
Okay.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. So yeah, because I was like, wait a minute, is that a typo? But then when I looked it up, I didn't see this until I should have added Marvel to it. I guess.
Yeah, I was
going back to Gorilla. So I'm
right,
like,
right, exactly. I automatically typed in Gorgilla Marvel, and then all of a sudden, like images popped up. I was like, oh wow.
Yeah. Marvel.com actually has a Marvel 101 on Gorgilla and Monsters Unleashed.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, from 2017. That's fun.
Yeah. Like I said, now I'm seeing it. So there you go. I'm like, okay, that was because I was like, that was kind of weird that was there, but I just should have known.
Yeah, but to be fair, that does sound like the new thing at Taco Bell. So,
no.
And I'd try a Gorgilla.
Hey, you know.
All right. So that's
pretty much, unless we got something else to say about
no, that's pretty much it. Like I said, we're definitely on the path to more story based on what happens in this issue.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I was going to mention is like so one of the caveman characters, well, this is when Tony meets up with the caveman characters, they start saying Unga, and I'm sitting here like, we're bringing Captain Caveman into this.
Unga.
Yeah, I'm like, really?
I did see.
So, but that's that. So next up, I guess we can go to Falcon and Winter Soldier #1, because I don't know if you've heard, there is going to be a show on Disney Plus later this year starring these two folks, and therefore it has to be, a companion book.
Which they should do. I mean, that makes sense.
I mean, it does make sense, and they've gotten it out definitely early enough to kind of for it to get. I mean, I don't know how long this book is going to last, but for them to have the buzz together. And granted, it's not the first time they have shown up together recently either, but even then, it was like, hey, they popped up and then they left. So this is them together.
So basically, they're both kind of forced together in the middle of this ongoing ex-Hydra conspiracy. There's a lot of spy handlers in the underground spy world, and what's left of Hydra, and what's coming out of what's left of Hydra, and who's been following Hydra, and who in the government watches over Hydra, and all of this kind of stuff going on. And it's one of those. It had a lot of action. I thought the artwork was pretty good.
Yeah, in some spots it was kind of rough, but yeah, for the most part it was good.
Yeah, but
my
biggest problem though is it felt like there was a lot of stuff in there where they, again, that decompressed storytelling where it's like they're fighting, and so they have to show, here's the punch, and then here's the reaction, and then here's the counter punch, and there's the reaction, and there's the duck, and here comes the kick, and it's like, I wanted the story to go, like, I'm more interested in like what's going on with these spy groups and the organization and what's the evil plan and whatever. And we spent so much time on some of these like minute fight details. It's just like, come on, let's get to the story. So actually, I feel like there might be a good story coming, but it's just going to take a while for it to work itself out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at it this way. Hopefully with all that, I'm hoping they got that out of the way and then they can just go on with the story.
Right.
Because now that the guy that was like, okay, yeah, they fought, and this other person they fought, which weirdly enough, Bucky has already dealt with a kid similar to this, seemingly similar to this kid in his fairly recent miniseries. So I'm sitting here like, okay, you going on the attack like that, you would think you would have been like, hold on, let's see what's going on. But for the sake of the story, they had to do it. And I don't know, I felt like I was being a little bit of reductive in my notes because I was like, well, this feels like MCU Bucky and halfway MCU Falcon kind of meeting, but knowing that the show was coming up, and maybe that's kind of a fault on my fault with this, that them coming together and then all of this happening, and then everything's going to smooth out, and they're just gonna, I'm sure at some point they're going to have a chat about their terms as as Cap, because they seem to stress that a couple of different times in this issue. So I'm feeling like that's probably going to come back up again, and for whatever other reason. But that being said, though, it wasn't a bad issue. Like, it was like, okay, yeah, they put them together. This is them starting to do that. Again, this is not the first time them two being together, even recently. But
so I didn't feel like it was bad at all, but I just kind of felt like it with a little more polish, a little more oomph, it could have been something so much better than what it was.
Right. And hopefully the next issue or two, what is it, 6 issues? Is it 5 issues?
5.
Yeah.
5 issues.
So hopefully in the next issue or two, they'll smooth that out.
Yeah.
Right.
The creative team, I guess we want to say real quick, because we have been kind of doing that lately.
Yes, we did skip that.
We did skip that, yeah. Whose name is escaping right now, and I had the doggone thing up, so of course I would do that.
Well, you want to just do for Falcon and Winter Soldier. I'll just read it off real quick.
Yeah, you find out when I find Avengers.
You got it. So it's written by Derek Landy with art by Federico Vicenti. The color artist is Matt Miller, lettered by VC's Joe Caramagna. The cover happens to be by Dan Mora and David Curiel. I actually was definitely attracted to this cover. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
and this looks like it's is this his first Marvel book? I would say he's the writer Landy. He's a young author writer, writes a lot of books for like middle school kids.
Oh, okay.
He did Black Order. He did the book Black Order in 2018.
Oh, no wonder. I don't think has any of us ever actually read that. I feel like
you mean it was the tie-in with Infinity, right?
From Infinity War, yeah.
Infinity War, right?
Wait, the one from last year?
2018, it says.
Okay, no, then.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah. Because I think there was one last year, or maybe I'm thinking about the same book and it bled into
the same book. I think it bled into 2019. I think it was like towards the end of 2018.
Yeah, it started at the end. Like 2 issues, I think, came out in 2018.
Okay, yeah.
The rest of 2019. Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha.
Okay, so this is his second work for Marvel.
Okay, cool. And so Avengers was Jason Aaron writing. Artists are Gerardo Zaffini, Gerardo Borges, Simon Kudransky. Why do I get all the
I could have taken this one.
Bazul,
Me.
Robert Gill, and Mateus DeLucis. VC's Joe Caramagna for lettering, color artist Rochelle Rosenberg and Matea DeLucis, and it goes on from there. But,
all right. Yeah. Next up.
What's next?
Who wants to throw a book out?
I mean, I'll talk about the big book of the week. Apparently, there's a little bit of scuttlebutt online that I am not aware of because I just haven't had time to look at it. And that is X-Men number 7. And this is a potential click of the week for me. It is Jonathan Hickman really diving into an unintended consequence of the resurrection side of Krakoa. And I don't want to spoil it for everybody, but it definitely has a spiritual slant to the story. And
also, I need to ask you a question because I know you've read.
Just let me finish this, and then hold on to that question. And also a very survival of the fittest type angle to the story. But now go on.
Okay, you read Wolverine number 1, and I was reading an article, which is actually we might touch on later on, that may have also dealt with the resurrection protocol. Did that actually happen, or that article was kind of?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, what this issue is really focusing on, though, is some of the philosophical um, issues that pop up with this whole resurrection protocol on Krakoa, and we do deal with the spiritual side because that's of course when you bring in Nightcrawler, the resident priest. So you're going to have him weigh in on what is what has become a process, a specific side effect of the resurrection protocol. So like I said, I don't want to spoil this. I know you're going to read this, and I don't want to talk at length because there's some very surprisingly deep considerations that you have to think about when you're reading this. So
Okay.
That's pretty much it. It's definitely a potential click of the week for me because I was literally reading this over lunch and had like half of my sandwich like hanging out of my mouth when I got to certain parts of it. Like, what? So
Now there's an image.
Exactly. Like, I shoved all my stuff on my desk towards, like away from me, and I was eating and I had my iPad in front of me and reading this, and I was just like amazed.
Okay. Cool. So I guess if you're done with that, Derek, you got something?
Oh, I'm not muted. I thought I was muted. I went to unmute myself and almost muted myself. Ant-Man.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying this Ant-Man series. It's one of these that I read just kind of because, like, we had the review copy to look at ahead of time. We got it like a couple weeks in advance, and so I was like, whatever, I'll read it because it's sitting here. I really enjoyed the first issue. I found it to be really funny. It was a lot funnier than I expected, and I felt like there was a good amount of story there. The second issue, again, I enjoyed it. The problem is there's a lot of good stuff that came out this week. In another week with some different books, this might have been my click of the week, but it won't be this week just because it's got some pretty stiff competition. But I do enjoy this series a lot. Basically, there's this old Nazi villain who became a swarm of bees who apparently pops up every now and again in the Marvel universe.
Yes.
Animated form.
Right. And so Ant-Man's been called in to, deal with this because bees have been disappearing from this area. And so Ant-Man can't really get any superhero work. So he's taking this, other kind of side stuff and just happens to stumble upon this Nazi villain. But he finds that there are other similar type creatures out there that are manifestations of particular insects. And they're staging some sort of massive attack against humanity on behalf of another powerful being that's controlling him. And it's kind of funny because the story builds as one of these, almost like a Jeff Johns, the way he does Green Lantern, where there's like something and then you realize there's something more and then it's something bigger and something bigger. But at the same time, it's Ant-Man and you're constantly being reminded like, ooh, it's this giant thing happening on a scale this big.
Right.
Like these are, incredibly small things. And in fact, when one of the bees, or no, was it a bee? Yeah, it was a bee explodes.
Yeah.
As he's being tunneled through. And at first you're like, oh, I kind of feel bad. And then you're like, it's a friggin' bee. Like, how many times have I squished one? I don't, whatever. It's just kind of fun the way the story plays with some of that stuff and plays with some of the stuff with his daughter and dealing with all of that keeps, coming up in the stories too. So I find it to be, really fun. It's a good read. This is one of those that compared to some other books, I think if you're, picking it up off the shelf, paying normal cover price for, you're getting a good amount of quality with this book compared to some other stuff.
All right.
Yeah, depending on what that other stuff is. Yeah, that's kind of true. There was a I thought it was funny, but at the same time, I was like, hey, there was a West Coast Avengers disc. And
yes, there was.
That was pretty good, but at the same time,
my mom's like, so I guess anybody can just call themselves Avengers now?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, well, that's rude. But,
oh, man.
But at the same time, that last iteration is kind of fair.
Yeah, well, and considering with that last run, my son was like, ooh, I want to read that. So I got him like the first 3 issues, and he's like, I don't really want to read this anymore. Right. And I was like, okay. Like if you can't get him interested, then you've got a problem with your book.
I mean, it was fun. Like the part about me, not to go back on that too much, but the part of that kind of irked me a little bit was the whole reality TV thing about it. But things outside of that was actually not bad. Well, except for Quentin Quire, but that's a whole nother issue.
Right. Okay. All right, so just very quickly, the creative team on Ant-Man number
Yeah,
two.
I'm gonna get to that.
Zeb Wells writing, Dylan Burnett the artist, Mike Spicer on colors, VC's Corey Pettit on letters. And just to recap on X-Men number 7 is of course Jonathan Hickman on the script, because who else? And Laniel Francis Yu on art, and Sonny Go on colors, VC's Clayton Cowles on letters.
So next up, I guess let's talk. Well, I guess we'll do this one and then maybe go into rapid fire, because I see there's only one other book that you and I've read, Agent 70.
X-Men Fantastic Four?
Yep. While I write that down, if you want to go ahead and start on it.
Sure. So this is, we are immediately continuing the story, which is, kind of a logical step that has come between the Fantastic Four and the X-Men post Krakoa, post the existence of Krakoa and the Nation of Mutants. And just to refresh everyone's memory, Franklin Richards is probably one of the most powerful mutants alive. But he's been having some issues, and some of those issues stem from his relationship with his father and some of the things that are going on with Franklin's powers. So all that said, a lot of the things that happened in the first issue lead us directly into this issue, which is we find Franklin and Valeria at the end of last issue have stowed away on the Marauder, which is Kate Pryde's ship that sails to protect the mutants on the open seas. The Fantastic Four basically on a Skype call with Krakoa and Cyclops saying, "Give us our kids back," and Cyclops is like, "Well, I understand.
But we don't have your kids, but I know how you feel."
Exactly. Like, I understand, but they're not here with us. Things definitely get heated, and the X-Men have to prepare for the imminent arrival of the Fantastic Four. This book is written by Chip Zdarsky, who is definitely hitting on all cylinders, as is Terry Dodson on pencils, and Rachel Dodson and Carl Story and Ransom Getty on inks, with Laura Martin on colors, and VC's Joe Caramagna is everywhere on letters. So
to back up just a second though, for what you said, they do have to prepare for the attack by the Fantastic Four only after Cyclops was like, hey, they were kind of mad over when they were off the phone. So I think we might want to, before we go and do this other thing, we might want to deal with that, them trying to come to the island. And while they were sitting there talking, sure enough, the Fantastic Four did kind of come and raid the island, and of course a fight ensued.
Right, because things move very quickly sometimes when they need to be, right?
Yeah.
We also follow up on the cliffhanger ending of the first issue, in which we were duped into thinking Dr. Octopus was attacking, but it was in fact Victor Von Doom, and he is sticking his nose in the X-Men and the Fantastic Four's business, and this is actually shaping up to be a very interesting miniseries.
Yeah, again, there are still shades of the original Fantastic Four X-Men miniseries from years back.
I never finished reading that. Is that on Marvel Unlimited?
It's probably, yeah.
I was going to ask you guys, do you think I should jump in now? Because
I've asked that for the last couple of weeks.
I know, because there's a special on the yearly subscription that's going to expire in a couple of days.
I mean, just like I keep telling you, if you're going to do some archive, if you're going to go back and read
stuff that's not in my collection,
exactly, or have a quicker reach to something that might be, but so you quicker get to, then it's worth it. Like I said, there's some times for this show I was like, let me go back and read this stuff because something came up for something in a recent issue. But
what say you, PCN_dirt? I know that Roddykat is definitely in favor.
But yeah,
I dropped my Marvel Unlimited thing a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Because what I found was it was one of those things similar to like Netflix, where when I got it, I read a whole bunch of stuff and churned through a bunch of stuff, and then there was a bunch of stuff I wanted to see that wasn't on there. Right. So I said, well, there's nothing really left on here that I care about. So I'm going to wait until the stuff I really want starts popping up. And every so often I go in and check, and the stuff that I really want isn't showing up on
Right.
there. So I'm still kind of holding out, waiting for. I can go on Comixology or into the digital store and buy some of that stuff.
Right.
But if I want to read all of Acts of Vengeance or Atlantis Attacks or the whole 80s and 90s run of Punisher and whatever, like that stuff's just not all on there. They sell them individually, but it's not in unlimited
on there. But yeah.
So I mean, yeah, they've got pockets of stuff. They've got random issues here and there, whatever, but not the entire chunks. And so it's just one of those things where, and it used to be, and I don't know if they still do this or not, but it used to be when you signed up for the year, you would get like a limited edition action figure and like a patch or a hat or something, a comic with a special cover, a box to keep comics in, like a small
extra. That's an extra tier.
Oh, see, that used to be just with the base price of the yearly membership.
Yeah,
so.
you have to get the super duper. I think it's like $99 a year to get that. But you also get invites to special events.
Well, that was another thing. None of the special events were near me. Like, it might be different for you living in Brooklyn.
Exactly. Because what I was going to add, though, before we move on, is that a good friend of mine has, he and his wife have always kind of nagged me, like, why don't you have this? They just don't realize all of the physical comics that I have access to. But they had been invited to like special screenings of stuff, and they'd gone to like, special sneak previews of stuff. And they asked me, why I didn't do it. And I just kind of didn't have the best answer. So I'm wondering if maybe I need to maybe pony up for the year. And we were just joking about not ponying up for like online storage, but, ponying up for the year just to see if I like it. 1 year's worth of Marvel Unlimited to see. So it's it's a thought. It's a thought. But anyway, just to get back to X-Men Fantastic Four #2. Dr. Doom, of course, has his plans moving ever, inevitably forward. So that's where we end off in this issue.
Yes, and apparently he has an island where he has his little side things going on. That may or may not have anything to do with Latveria's mutant population. I don't know.
Right. What's implied is that he's actually relocated Latveria's mutant population to this island.
Right.
So it's interesting. Definitely, like I said, lots of unintended consequences. It's interesting to see Marvel's writers kind of dive deep into the idea of Krakoa and what's happened and what the after effects and the ramifications are.
Yeah, it's also worth noting real quick before we go on. Like, yeah, Sue's reach in the beginning of the issue when it came to that little Skype call with Cyclops was like, wow, okay, I get where you're coming from, but you were kind of hitting on all cylinders there with that reach of yours,
right?
And also this also, which probably doesn't need to be said, this also takes place probably more than likely prior to what's going on in Marauders, given that there is a character there that is not currently around.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, all right. So we will go on to Dirt. What you got?
Well, we'll stick on the Marvel train. We'll go to Peter Porker, the Spectacular Spider-Ham.
All right.
I just realized this is written by Zeb Wells, the same guy who did Ant-Man. Right. I didn't realize that till right now. So maybe I'm becoming a Zeb Wells fan. I didn't know it. But this is so one of the things that I thought was so great in the last issue was that they ended up going back in time. And as soon as they did, Spider-Ham started to change. And that's what this issue focuses on for a long portion of it. He turns into a 1940s style character. So he's becoming one of those goofy, if you've played Cuphead, you've seen Cuphead. It's that style. He's kind of animated, looks in that way, and his arms get long and stretchy and loopy, and he's talking in the weird way. And if you look at the cover art, you can kind of see that he's got that old like Mickey Mouse look to him. It's a lot of fun. And again, this is one of those things I was laughing out loud reading a lot of this. They get to a point where they start breaking the fourth wall. They start talking about the fact that they're in a comic. He starts peeking through and looking ahead to stuff that's happening in the story. And then you get to those pages in the story, and there he is poking his head out, commenting what you heard before. At one point, Peter Parker, the actual Spider-Man, sticks his head through and sees something, and whatever it was, he's like, I wish I had never done that. I'll have nightmares for the rest of my life. So whatever it was he saw was something he shouldn't have seen. But it's just one of those that's fun. It's playing with the medium, playing with the fact that, it's this ridiculous cartoon world. What it basically comes down to is his Spider-Ham's device that allows him to jump through the universe. It works because he wants it to. It's working on kind of this cartoon magic where you just build a device that says, I'm going to jump through the universe, and it works. You jump through the universe. That's how things work in that world. So it's just, it plays off of that. And it's again, it's fun. It's very imaginative. It's one of those where you can't really figure out what's going to happen next because it takes these wild leaps and does this crazy stuff because you are dealing with cartoons and cartoon logic and cartoon universes and all that kind of fun stuff. So I really enjoyed it. Again, this is one that I laughed out loud a couple times when I was reading it. I think this is a very smart series in many ways. As dumb as it gets, it's doing dumb in a very smart way, which is fun with the dealing with animation and old comics and that kind of stuff that goes along with it. So I enjoy this a whole lot. And like I said earlier, this is one of these books where I buy it and then my son goes, "Oh, Spider-Ham," and I'm like, "Yeah, you can have it as soon as I'm done reading it. Then you get to read it because I get to read it first because I like it that much."
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, that's written as PCN_Dirt mentioned, written by Zeb Wells with art by Will Robson, colors by Eric Arciniega, and letters again by VC's Joe Caramagna.
Indeed. And with that, unless someone else has something else they want to throw out, we can go to rapid fire.
Spinning it up. I've just got a couple, so let me take care of mine.
Go for it.
X-Force number 8. We get some more follow-up on what has happened, what the after effects of Domino's kidnapping and gradual removal of her skin and mutant power, like transfer of mutant power to assassins, and it's a pretty interesting story. We do get some more reconnection between Colossus and Domino, which is always interesting, and we get a little bit of a team up between those two characters on a mission to further investigate who was behind Domino's kidnapping and all the stuff that happened to her. So it's a pretty interesting read. And last for me is Philadelphia number 4. So for those of you who have not been keeping up with or who have not watched the show when I spoke about this book, this is an image book. It is by and I will get back to X-Force number 8 in a second. This is by Rodney Barnes, Jason Sean Alexander, and Luis NCT. It's an image book. It's about vampires in Philadelphia, whose their leader is none other than the second president of the United States, John Adams, and all of the historical retconning that comes with that. And it's very, very interesting. It dives deep into some of the social issues of that era and this era and what has come in between, all mixed in with vampires running amok in some of the most, I guess, practical ways you could think of. I mean, you would think that maybe it's just because I'm not a big horror guy. I don't see all of these possibilities coming up, but when I see them in this particular series, I'm like, oh yeah, that would suck being stuck in a bank with a bunch of vampires as you're like waiting online. So it's pretty, it's a pretty interesting read. So that's that, and X-Force number 8, just very quickly, is Hold on. Actually, I don't think we've been doing the art credits with the rapid fire book, so we can go ahead.
Okay, I'll go ahead and do mine because I got a couple myself. Star Wars number 3. So we're going back to Cloud City, folks. Lando's got Luke and Leia, so it's a triple L team who have gone back to Cloud City for different reasons. Lando's going to help out a friend. That friend, if you think about, Lando and who he's involved with around that time, you know who he's talking about. Luke's going to get his lightsaber, and Leia's going back, well, for the potential reason why she left the place and who she left without in that place. And she ends up, let's just say, in a similar state as someone around that similar time. I'll leave it at that. Avengers of the Wasteland. So Avengers of the Wasteland number 2. So Danny Cage, Thor, Hulk, and Ant-Man, and this Captain America, who is not the character Captain America we know, in this wasteland that is set in the Logan, the Old Man Logan era, are off on a journey to basically try to overthrow Doom. And they're seeming to be rolling around in that same I don't know if that's a Cadillac, whatever old car that was in Avengers 1959, which I don't know if that was a coincidence or not, but nevertheless they meet up with some folks that wish to try to take some things from them. Cap's kind of gone off the rails a little bit because, again, this is not the same Cap that we know, because that Cap got killed at some point earlier, and there was some recap into the origin of this Cap's deal. But they kind of run into some things, and then they catch a signal from another Avenger, or a champion, I should say, and then they go helping out until some other things pop off. It's kind of interesting. And my last book is Black Panther number 21, and I know Agent 70 is going to read this. So the most I could pretty much say about this is that Storm is in here, and she gets used to an interesting effect that we've not seen before. I don't know, this kind of feels like a side story to what's going on, but I know it is a part of what's going on in the main thing, because T'Challa doesn't show up at all, but there are other people that show up, and a story is presented here with a consequence, let's just say, at the end of it for one particular character. But I'm going to assume that there was a reason why this issue kind of was played out the way it did, and maybe we'll find that out in the next issue too, but don't know. And that is it for me.
Well, okay. Let's talk about some books. Action Comics 1020. This was junk. This was terrible.
Oh no!
This was one of the worst things I've read in a long time. I don't even know where to start with all this. Bendis has basically decided to use this book as an advertisement for Young Justice, which wouldn't be that big of a deal, except for the fact that Superman meets Connor Kent for the first time here, and it's basically kind of like oh, hey, you're real. And Connor's like, yeah, it's kind of a thing. And he goes, huh, okay. And that's it. And then they move on.
Pages from this. I'm like, really? As a matter of fact, I saw those pages you were talking about. I'm like, that's it?
Yep, okay. That's it. That's all there is to it. There's this massive battle going on. There's this giant war, whatever, happening. And it's mostly Superman just kind of flying around going, okay, I need a couple people to go here, and a couple people to go here, and a couple people go here. And okay, let's go fight. And that's like the whole thing. It's terrible. And then not only that, but Starman shows up, which
even he did.
Yeah, that's right. Kind of my thinking too. So I'm not sure where exactly this falls into. Is this supposed to take place like 8 months ago in the DC universe when the stuff was happening in Justice League, or is this supposed to be happening now? But then he revealed himself, and they talk about the fact that he's been revealed, so like it doesn't seem to line up right. It's just like a whole mess of problems with it. And look, God bless John Romita Jr., but he is not made for Superman. He is not the right artist for this book. There's some books that he's been on that I thought he was fantastic, but I'm sorry, he's just not the look for this book. So
his art style has changed to a real extent, and I think maybe at one point in history he could have really pulled off Superman. And I don't want to slow down your rapid fire, but
yeah, no, it's fine.
That's just my feeling on it. Like there's just his style has subtly changed where I don't think he, like you said, can really do a convincing looking Superman.
Like I remember him being on Spider-Man and having no problem.
Did you have any problems with the Frank Miller Superman story that he did? It was a lot cleaner looking than this. I think he had a lot of time to draw it. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Isn't it the one from like 2 years ago or whatever?
No, it was like a year. It was like earlier last year. Year one. Yeah, it was like it was the Black Series.
Oh, the year one.
Yeah, the year one.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that actually looked pretty good.
Oh, I couldn't. No,
really.
Not me. I didn't buy it. Like I flipped through it when it first came out, and I was like, nope.
I thought
I'm not paying money for this.
And like I said, I think I'll let you move on very quickly, but I thought that because he had more time to spend on it, it came out much cleaner looking than this. This looks like monthly John Romita Jr. Like he's definitely cheating to make sure he hits his deadline.
I'm also wondering if, like he did Punisher, and Punisher like War
Journal
Zone.
War Zone, yes, I remember War Zone.
And I mean his style worked fine there because it's at times very dark and gritty, and there's a lot of kind of that line work for the shadows that make things look dark and beat up and worn and whatever, and it works fine on a character like that. But when you're working with a character like Superman, it just doesn't look right. It doesn't work right. He doesn't have that clean sort of classic style that you need when you're dealing with a character like that. So anyway,
I would just add that he does a good Spider-Man because he only has to draw Peter Parker's face sometimes. He can draw you know what I mean?
Right. Well, but see, like I think he'd be fine doing something like Batman. A lot of shadow, a lot of dark alleyways and stuff like that. I think that works a lot better. That's more towards his strengths, because, and I'll say the same thing like with Mike Mignola. I love his work on Hellboy, but when he drew a couple Superman books as fill-ins, in the late 80s, and when he did, it just didn't look right. Like it didn't work. When he did Batman stuff, you're like, oh, this is cool. When he did Superman stuff, you're just kind of like, Right. I love the guy's artwork, but there's certain books that some artwork is better for others.
Right, exactly.
Right. But the story was also poop, so it doesn't matter. Let's see. Detective Comics was this week. We have the return of Two-Face in the ashes of City of Bane. Basically, City of Bane was like the last big story from what's his face's terrible run on Batman, and this is trying to come out of that. The problem was in City of Bane, it focused so much on Batman and Catwoman and their fight against Thomas Wayne that I kind of forgot that the rest of the city was like all on lockdown. Like when I think back about it, oh yeah, I remember there was one scene where a couple of villains were the police officers trying to keep people under curfew. But other than that, he really didn't get across the fact that, the whole city was on lockdown and whatever. So the city's trying to reemerge is the idea, and Two-Face has shown up. And similar to what they've done with some of the other villains the past few issues, Two-Face is getting kind of redeveloped. The way we saw Mr. Freeze reworked recently, Two-Face is getting reworked in a very different way. And I'm not sure. I'm going to go with it. Again, it's one of those things. We'll go with it, see where it goes. Maybe it works out in the end. But it's vastly, vastly different from the way he's normally been portrayed and the way he's been used in the comics. So it could be part of just his madness is getting worse, but we'll see where it goes. It's got some interesting possibilities, but I'm still not 100% sold on it because it is way out there compared to the past. Red Hood and the Outlaws or Red Hood Outlaw, I guess it's called now. They've done a big shift recently in this book where the other two people he was working with, Artemis and Bizarro, disappeared into a pocket universe. It was him by himself. He was working with Lex Luthor and his evil group to like train these young supervillains, but he was using it in a way to really kind of rein them in and keep them from becoming psychos. And plus, he wanted to sneak his way into Luthor's network. Well, now all of that's over. Artemis and Bizarro are back. All those kids have disappeared. And now it's just kind of back to where it was a year ago or whatever. And it throws in a throwback to characters that we saw, I don't know, maybe I want to say 4 or 5 months ago. I can't really remember. But it took me a minute to realize that they were the same characters from before. It took until they put that little thing down in the corner that was like, editor's note, last seen in issue whatever. And then I had to go, oh, right. Okay. Because it feels so disconnected from what's been happening recently that it took me a while to get that connection in there. So I'm still reading it. I'm still liking it. Chris Cross actually does some of the artwork in this, which is fun.
Really?
Name again. Yeah.
Oh, it's great to see.
His art makes you jump.
No!
But I enjoy the book overall. It does do some weird twists and turns here, but at the end of the day, I'm still buying physical copies. I'm still keeping them, and I'm still enjoying the series. Real quickly, I read Amethyst because we had a review copy of it. I won't read anymore. It was there, so I read it. I actually did a bite review on this one that basically said I am not the target demographic for this book, it had that for like 5.5 seconds, and then the last half second it said I didn't like it. It's if you're
It's a little twee.
man, I don't even know. It's one of those where if you're a 9-year-old girl that desperately wants to be a 12-year-old girl, then this is probably the book for you. If you're an actual 12-year-old girl, you probably are going to think it's kind of stupid and you won't want to read it. If you're anyone else, you probably don't want to read it.
Yes, I'm going to check this out also because she showed up because she was showing up in Young Justice, and I probably still will. But yeah, I kind of figured the same. As this is probably not. I'm definitely not the demographic.
Yeah,
I knew she was going to get a book at some point, being that they prominently had her in Young Justice. So,
and I figured I'd give it a shot, And at first, first it wasn't too bad. It's okay. Like I'm kind of going along. It's you got the medieval themes, the kingdoms and the kings and queens and princesses, whatever. You can kind of roll with it a little bit, but it kind of gets to a point where you're like, this doesn't even make sense anymore. Why is she screaming? I'm done.
Is it here? Because I know she is not on Gem World anymore.
Well, Gem World makes an appearance, but apparently everybody who was there is gone.
Right.
And it's in ruins, and she's trying to figure out why. And she goes to talk to some of her neighbors, and things don't work out and whatever. So
yeah, because I wanted to know if it was going to play in some of the stuff that was in Young Justice. So yeah, I don't know.
But it is a Wonder Comics from Bendis's imprint, so It's all tied together because that's how he does things. I did read Fantastic Four Grim Noir #1.
Ooh.
Which I guess is just a one shot. It's not really a #1. It's an only. But it's not. It's a standalone story. So you don't really need to read anything else for it. And it tells its story, and then it's over, and then it's done. It's there's not a lot to it as far as like any sort of deep plot. There's not any sort of real character development. I thought maybe because it was a special that it might dive into something more about who Ben Grimm is, or the Thing, or how he feels because he's been the Thing for so long, and has it changed, his inner monologue or anything? No, it's literally like a neighbor disappears. He's having nightmares. It turns out there's a villain from the Marvel Universe who's involved. You kind of go, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. He goes into the nightmare world. He saves the neighbor who disappeared, and the story's over. And like, that's it. That's the whole. Sorry,
might come up someplace else.
Yeah, but I mean, there's really nothing to it. and it's a $4.99. So it's a $5.
Yikes.
You're going to pay extra for this book that really does nothing. So
Right.
this was a weird one. I just randomly ran across this unpacking books. We had forgotten that we ordered this, but this is a Jay Werner presents classic pulp detectives. This is from Source Point Press, I think it is. Yeah. And this is basically reprints of old 1940s detective noir comics. And some of this stuff is stuff that it's so old, there's no records of who wrote it. They weren't credited in the book, so they don't know who the artists are. Some of it, they had notes in the front that said, we think it might have been this guy who did it, but some of the stuff is just unknown forever. They found old copies and they scanned it into the computer and then they digitally restored. So they went through and they cleaned up the pages, but it still looks like the old pages. So they took out the creases, they took out the browning, they took out the watermarks, they took out the rips, they fixed it, but they fixed it so it looks like an old comic from the 40s still. It's still the same flat colors, the same original artwork and everything like that, but it's very crisp and clean and vivid. It looks fantastic. This is only $4. You get a couple of like actual classic stories, including a Charlie Chan detective story that they bring in there. Plus they do some of those like filler pages that would have been in those old comics where you have the scene of a crime and all the clues are there in the image and it's asking you like what happened to figure out the story. There's a couple text stories that you can read that they did a lot in comics in those days that were filler. So this was really interesting. I really enjoyed reading through it because I love reading, old comics and stuff. So that's one to look out for. I don't know who Jay Werner is, but I'm going to do some Googling later and see if there's other stuff out there or other stuff, in the pipes coming down the road.
And what's the official name of that one? Sorry.
Jay Werner presents classic noir detective or classic pulp detectives, I think. Here, wait, let me look it back up. I just closed the window right before you asked me. But anyway, it's one of those because I really enjoy the old comics and seeing something like that. Jay Werner presents classic pulp detectives. That's what it is.
Okay, and that was number 1 or something, or did they just
one shot? It says one shot.
One shot. Okay.
All right. Cool. All right. Let's see. A couple more comics. I read comics this week. Olympia number 4. I still love this series. This series is great. This series is a big sloppy wet kiss to the comics industry from writers that are so depressed that they don't know if it's even worth it anymore, to little kids who love the mythology and the story, to the heroes. They come alive in the real world and they're causing havoc and destroying things. This is a lot of fun. This is it's pulling in Kirby references and character designs. It's pulling in what it's like to print an independent comic these days and how difficult it is to get people on board and get stores on board. And then at the same time, dealing with these worlds of magic and greater than human beings and these giant fights and battles and life being on the line, and all of that comes together. It's just really well done. This is one of those, I'm buying these individually, and then when they collect it, I'm probably going to buy the collection to put on the shelf, the bookshelf, to go along with it. I'm really liking it that much, unless they totally tank the ending, which is possible. But so far, I love this. This is one of my favorite books that has come out probably since Sheriff of Babylon. I'm really enjoying this book that much. Another book that came out this week, which is a very, if Olympia hadn't come out, this book might probably be my click of the week, and that's cult classic Creature Feature number 5. I've talked about this book before on here. I love it. It's kind of 50s monster movie in like the late 80s, mid 80s, sometime in there. You've got these slug creatures that come inside the human body and they make the flesh kind of warp away, and then the skeleton and muscles jump out and becomes like this zombie type flesh-eating creature. It's a small town isolated out in the middle of nowhere. People have to talk by CB, trying to get a hold of each other. Powers going out, fighting these monsters and these creatures. It's fantastic. This is a lot of fun. This is one of those books that as I was reading this particular issue, I was being reminded of like the first time I saw something like Night of the Living Dead, and the way you kind of felt with some of the characters in there and the things that were happening, because this is one of those books where not everybody's safe. And this was the final issue number 5. And as it's going, you're like, okay, I see where this is going. These people aren't going to survive. These people are going to survive. Oh, now they're dead. Okay, well, I guess these people are, oh, well, now he's dead. It's like one of these things where nobody's safe, and you like these characters and you've come to know them, and now that they're starting to die off towards the end of the story, it has more impact. And that's something that's really hard to do in horror comics, is make you care about these people that you've only been reading about for a couple issues. So they've done a really good job. This is the Elliot Rahal book. This is really good. And there was another cult classic series before this one, which I was unfamiliar with. I actually ordered those. So those will be coming in the mail so I can read those, because I liked this one so much. I want to go check out that other one. But Cult Classic Creature Feature number 5, it's definitely, this series is a good read. Anybody who wants a good horror comic with a good, modern feel. And then my last 2 books are also reprints, so I'll just go through them real quick. The first was the Flash number 1 from Mike Barron, Jackson Guice. I don't know how you say his last name. I've never known. Guice? 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 I don't know. Anyway, this was...
You got me.
This was after Crisis, so this is the post-Crisis Flash. Barry Allen has disappeared, killed himself, or... Well, didn't kill himself, but
he sacrificed himself. Yeah.
Sacrificed himself, yes. That's a much better way of wording it.
Okay.
In the Crisis. And so now Kid Flash has become Flash and taking over. And I forgot how much this book deals with the realities of being a superhero. So this is before he's married. He doesn't have kids yet. We haven't gotten into any of that, but he's still dealing with... he's got to eat all the time because his metabolism's really high, because his being a Flash is a little different. So he's like... He's being asked to do stuff like carry this heart transplant across the country. And so he's like, hey, if I do this, can you give me medical insurance? Because I have problems and I need help, and stuff like that. And really dealing with the realities, again, of being a superhero, which wasn't done a whole lot in a lot of these books. So I really enjoyed reading that again, and it reminded me how much I enjoyed this series back when it came out. So that's another one. I'm going to start digging through boxes and try to find. I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, probably through 15 or 20 still in the box somewhere. So I'll dig those out. And then
wait, before you go on, 2 questions. What year was that?
86 or 87.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why for a lot of people Wally's their Flash.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say, it was like, that sounds like the episode of Young Justice that they did that exact thing with the taking the heart transplant across the country. They did that on Young Justice.
1987.
Okay, cool. So I can have that in the notes.
And actually, the trade, if you want to buy the trade on Amazon, it is. It's coming out in May, apparently. So we talked before about why these dollar comics and stuff come out. The trade for this, it's called Strange Velocity, or Savage Velocity, because Vandal Savage is the main villain. It'll be coming out May 5th, 2020. And I'm trying, it's 1 through 18 and the annual. I don't know, maybe I'll go ahead and pre-order that.
Yeah, I've been seeing. I know Marvel's been doing a lot of those reprints, but I just saw on Comixology yesterday or something like that, a bunch of Flash ones. And I guess that might have been part of those. I don't know.
All right, and then the last one is another Flash. Actually, this is Flash 123, but this is the classic one from 1961, and this is the Flash of Two Worlds.
Yeah, I was about to say. Okay.
And I've probably read this 100 times. I've got the hardcover reprints and the soft Golden Age, Silver Age reprints.
It's a famous cover
of Flash stuff. Yeah, I've read this so many times, but I bought this particular one because it's a facsimile edition. So it has all the ads and the letter pages and all that stuff that came in the original story. And I haven't seen any of that stuff before because obviously I only own the reprints. I've never owned a $6,000, good copy of this book. But to have the facsimile edition here was really fun for me to read through, to see all of that original stuff in it. I love this book, and in fact, I bought a couple extra copies because I liked it so much to store away in different spots. So because we have problems with stuff like flooding and children and animals in our house, so bought a couple extras just to be safe. But I love this book so much. This is one of my favorite things, and of course, this is what exploded the whole multiverse thing throughout the DC universe. So,
and it's $1.
No, this was a $3.99.
Oh no,
this is a facsimile.
Oh, the facsimile. That's
so
right.
It's got all the ads and everything in it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, if you get it on Comixology digitally, it's $3.39 if you're with their unlimited thing. Because I noticed that this was one of the ones I saw this week that they had put out there. So I was wondering why what brought that up for you, but the timing is what it is on that one.
All right, so that's it. So that's all my books. I read a bunch of books this week, and that's
Question.
A lot of them were reprint stuff, but there's a lot of good stuff, new and old, this week.
Right. Question: what was that crisscross book that you mentioned?
Oh my gosh, that was I don't know. I just talked about 10,000 books here in the last few minutes. What was that? Red Hood Outlaw. I think that was that it. Yes, Red Hood Outlaw.
Okay, I'm gonna take a look at that because I was a big fan of Chris Cross's art. Then he started doing like humanoid stuff in Europe and like kind of dropped off the face of our Earth. You know what I mean?
Actually, you know what? Now that I look, previews said it was a Chris Cross book, but I don't see his name on the actual.
Yeah, I didn't see it, so that's why I was kind of curious. Like,
so maybe he didn't show up in here. Maybe he's in
on another book.
Maybe it's another issue coming out before or later, but.
Maybe.
Yeah, previews had this listed as a crisscross book.
Interesting.
Previews lied to me.
Screw you, previews.
And that's Diamond Comics. That's the distributor, so they can say whatever they want. There's nothing you can do about it.
Seriously. All right, clicks of the week, peoples.
We have one from one Tim Dog, and his is X-Men number 7.
Nice. I second.
Okay, well, there you go.
I second X-Men number 7.
Cool. While I'm thinking about it, Dial H for Hero ended this week, issue number 12. I was going to get around to reading it, but I didn't get a chance to. Amazing Spider-Man 40. That was another one I didn't get a chance to get into. Far Sector, didn't get a chance to get into that one either, but Batman Curse of the White Knight, that also. You got yours,
Oh man, this is so tough because this is one of those weeks where there's so much good stuff.
It is a lot.
Because any given week it could have been Ant-Man, it could have been Spider-Ham, it could have been Olympia, it could have been Cult Classic. It's man, I think though at the end of the day I'm gonna go with Olympia number 4.
Okay.
As much as I like all those other books too, this is one of those where just it comes down to like the smallest margin of one versus the other, and I'm just gonna put Olympia just right above those other books, but it was head to head this week. It's a tough call.
Cool. And for myself, I think I'm actually going to go with Tarot came out this week. I know I forgot something. Doggone it. There was a lot came out this week. I think I'm gonna go with X-Men plus Fantastic Four number 2. That one.
Cool.
I enjoyed that.
Cool. All right.
And with that, and we almost made it to over an hour, which means Lightstream would have cut us off before now.
Jeez.
That's another behind the scenes thing.
Yeah, exactly.
We won't have to. Well. Yeah, more news on that later. Anyway, but we will probably say, I guess we're saying goodbye to PC_Dirt.
I was gonna say Dirt. Do whatchamacallit? We could flip it around and talk Toy Fair stuff up front, real quick after I do the ad, and then you can bounce.
Sure.
Okay.
Do you mind doing that? Just because whatchamacallit? I thought there was some exciting stuff that came out for Toy Fair. Let me do our ad read real quick. It's for Wink, the personalized wine club. Wink is a world of wine delivered right to your door. From rosé to Cabernet to Torronté, Wink has over 100 styles of wine to discover. Ever try an orange wine? Wink connects you to a world of exclusive wines tailored to your taste and delivered directly to your door. Wink delivers 4 bottles of wine to you every month with free shipping. You can pick your own bottles or let Wink choose and match to your taste. It doesn't cost a thing to become a member, and you can skip or cancel anytime. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy an exclusive discount of $20 off your first order. To place your first order with $20 off, and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us/wink. That's cspn.us/WINC. Wink wines through CSPN. Do it today. Now we jump into the news.
And I am really hoping that Lightstream is not screwing me and things are actually changing, because something just happened. Well, something happened, and I think we're still recording. So I'm just trying to make sure before.
Yeah, we're still live.
Okay, and I'm trying to make sure things are also switching, because I was getting an error when I was trying to switch scenes, but that's a whole nother thing.
What are you trying to switch to?
I was switching to the news to the news.
Oh
tab.
yeah, it's not showing that screen. Are you trying to pull up that screen with the?
Yeah, and I was afraid of that. So we're just gonna deal with it.
It's okay.
Yeah, I think I think I know
Because
what
I'm here. I'm taking its spot.
I think I know what happened, but I would have to refresh, and I don't know what that's going to do to the recording. So we're going to deal with it. But so we're going to skip right directly to the comic book news, because luckily I put a lot of that Toy Fair stuff right up front.
Cool.
So we can just kind of breeze through these first, how many, whatever it is. First off is He-Man and Skeletor's weapons will be soon available as lifestyle replicants from Kuzo's and Factory Entertainment. You can see, well, you probably can't see a picture of them when you, but hey, this stuff is going to be in the show notes. So,
right, show notes, and also it's going to be in I guess an online retailer or a store not very close to you. You know, it's hard to find these things, but yeah, I feel like this is one of those things where if you were a real Masters of the Universe fan, you kind of always wanted a He-Man sword. I don't know about that the goat's head or the ram's head Skeletor staff, but you know, to each their own, right?
I mean, yeah, somebody's got to, whether it's a He-Man, somebody's got to do a Skeletor. Oh, Dirt, are you reading that He-Man comic?
Yes. Well, I'm trying.
Okay.
It's well, okay. Here's the interesting thing: is that they are taking every possible version of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe that they can find, and they're linking them together in this cross-universe journey, which includes the mobile tap game.
For He-Man. Yeah.
They went to the cartoon world in this last one, so everything had the look of the original animated series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're doing a little bit of everything in there, and it's the funny thing was that the world they just went to was after they left the animated world, they went to, I think it was the 2000X toy line from the cartoon that came out in the early 2000s.
Oh, yeah.
Skeletor there was like powered up, and so they had the Disco Skeletor version, which is the one I really liked. That had the purple and gold and orange. It was like one of those random repaint things that they put out in the toy line that everybody was like, why does this thing exist? And they found a way to work it into the story, which I thought was interesting. But the story they're trying to cram so much stuff in there and trying to do so many things that it's hopping, jumping all over, random characters showing up all over the place, and it's kind of hard to follow sometimes. But
it's kind of amusing though, because it's like, okay, this is kind of bananas, but yeah, it's a good bit that they're kind of throwing in there. So
yeah.
All right. So next up, let's see. Boop.
Next up, so there's comingsoon.net has photographs from the Universal brand showcase gallery from Toy Fair, featuring Fast and Furious and more, including Jurassic Park, How to Train Your Dragon. So you can hit up our show notes and go, make your way to comingsoon.net and take a look at some of these photos. They're probably up on popculturenetwork.com too, right?
No, we didn't cover the. Fast and Furious.
Okay. So, boo. And two, I guess we're gonna send people to comingsoon.net and take a look at some of these toys.
Again, check out the show notes for all of these links because, like I said, I can't pull them up for the video. Hasbro revives Tiger LCD handheld games with Transformers, Sonic, and more.
Which I'm interested in, but it depends on the price. That's always one of those things.
Yeah, $15 each.
That's
well. I was about to say those little LCD games are from back in the day. I remember them being, roughly that price then.
Yeah, but they should be able to make them a lot cheaper now.
Exactly.
Like that's not something that should go with inflation.
Exactly.
Yeah, because like the old Mattel handhelds, the ones that are still out, like with the whole with the the football 1 and 2 and those ones, like okay, those are. I wouldn't say they're like half the price of these. I might be wrong about that, but yeah, that's kind of ridiculous for these prices. I don't know. If they end up having to come up with any more than these ones, so the ones they have out are The Little Mermaid, Transformers Generations 2, X-Men Project X, and Sonic the Hedgehog 3. So someone I presented this to somebody, and they was like, "Hey, what if they had?" And I can't remember which one it was. Which was probably would have been markedly better, but I don't know. If these work out, I guess they'll put some more out. Who knows?
It's one of those things that it's really a tough sell because it's 99% of what you're paying for is the nostalgia,
Right?
Not the quality of the actual unit compared to what else you can buy for that same amount, and play it. So you really have to be in love with that format of playing the games and really want to get back into that style.
Right, like there are definitely for people of a particular vintage like us, but I know there are some young people.
Well, because like if I've got all of these mini arcade things. I've got these big ones up here. I've got these small keychain ones here. I even have a digital pinball. There's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles digital pinball one that recreates the pinball machine, and whatever. So you can play classic games in full color on. Small arcade systems, and they're going to cost $10 or $25 or whatever, depending on how good you want them to be. So to $15 for these with the LCD screens that barely move, and like I said, it's a tough sell on those for $15.
We had them as a kid.
Yeah. They're going to have to come in that same clamshell packaging with the artwork around them and everything to really get people to pony up for them. That's yeah.
Let's see. Hot Wheels announced remote control Tesla Cybertruck. I'm like, really?
I'm tempted.
That's funny as hell.
It is. I mean,
here's the thing though. If you take that truck and you put a gun mount in the back with one of your standing things, it's perfect for a Terminator. Like the Future War Terminator things, because that looks like the type of truck that they had,
or Halo,
or something like Mega Force.
Actually, straight out of Halo.
Halo, we actually that new toysmell.com broke the news on the new Halo line coming from Jazzwares, because our guy happened to be standing. Our guy Nick Ochoa was there. He happened to be standing there talking to the Microsoft and Jazzwares guys. And the Jazzware guys were like, well, hey, we want to get your final approval on this. And they pull off the sheet, and the Microsoft guy's looking at him, and he's like, yep, yeah, we're gonna approve that. We're gonna sign off on it. You can take pictures of it now. And he was standing right there.
Wow.
Sending me the photos. So we put them up, within minutes. So we were the first.
I don't think I have that one in the lineup. And as a matter of fact, I don't have the Super Soaker or that Nerf line that they're doing with the Halo stuff. But that's all our stuff is out there. I don't know if you did any of that or those.
Yep.
Cool. So you can go to the Pop Culture Network. So yeah, this thing though. So this is Mattel, so it's Hot Wheels branded. And it's remote control, and there is the pre-orders. You can pre-order it now. There's a 1.64 scale that is for $20, and there's a 1/10 scale one that's $400. That is expected to ship in this December.
Yeah, I think the $20 is worth it.
I'm like you just said. I'm kind of tempted, but I don't know.
The remote control car.
It's that stupid Tesla Cybertruck, though.
I love the Cybertruck.
I mean, there is something to it, but at the same time, it's like that just thing had legs for all the wrong reason.
That's so funny.
So anyway, next up,
Dun, 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 dun. Unreal. Guess what? Hasbro reveals new Ghostbusters toys. It's a proton blast from the past. So this is the real Ghostbusters Kenner Classics figure assortment from Hasbro. So this is stuff that is inspired by the classic figures that came out that were made by Kenner Toys. The assortment includes Peter, Ray, Winston, Egon, Stay Puft, Marshmallow Man, and Slimer, each sold separately and available. Boo! Available exclusively at Walmart. I hate that, man. Anything exclusively at Walmart means ain't nobody in the 5 boroughs of New York City getting there anytime soon.
there's also there's also an Nectar One Play set. There's some other one. There's a Proton Pack. There's the real Ghostbusters line. The Plasma series according to this.
Yeah, it's like the Star Wars Black Series.
Basically, of the figures, which look kind of good.
Oh yeah, like some of them actually have like pretty good likenesses to the movie actors.
Right. Like there's Gozer, there's Dana, there's the guys, there's the Terror Dog. Exactly, the thing the Terror Dog is a Build-A-Figure. So the Build-A-Figure is the Terror Dog.
That's actually not a bad Sigourney Weaver. That's pretty good.
No, not too good. No Rick Moranis, but hey, whatever. But yeah, so yeah, we can get all of those, and they're going to be. Oh no,
And Winston's pretty good too.
yeah, that Winston's not bad. The Egon's pretty good too. They're a piece, so that's actually pretty good. And like I said, it's a Build-A-Figure.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I really wish you could put these up on the screen.
I know. I wish I could.
It's a parting gift from Lightstream.
Yeah, I know, right? There's also a PKE meter and another proton. So
I will say the PKE meter, it's the cartoon one, so it's a very basic looking.
right.
They did make one that looks really authentic, sold at the Spirit Halloween stores. Probably other stores as well, but that's where I saw it in person. They had ghost traps and PKE meters, and they look legit. Like, to use the term that my friends always overuse, they look legit. They are nice looking. If you're looking for any of that type of stuff, you can probably order it off their website at Spirit Online. But Spirit Halloween stores had some really nice Ghostbuster stuff.
Right, and there's to top it off, there's the Plasma series Egon's Neutrona wand, which looks really good. So this is proton, not the pack, just the gun part.
Gotcha.
So that's cool. Next up, Hasbro officially reveals Wave 5 of the Lightning Collection and the Dragon Dagger Collection. So basically, it's the Dragon Dagger from that the Green Ranger used in Power Rangers. And also the Lightning series of the Red Ranger, a couple different Red Rangers. I believe this is Time Force. Yes, Time Force, and there's Billy, the Blue Ranger, and Jason, the Gold Ranger, and I think and the Ranger Slayer from Power Rangers, the cartoons, the comic series, not cartoon, excuse me. So yeah, so if you don't have the Piccolo knife, the Piccolo dagger thing, which thought of somebody said there might be a better one out there, but this one doesn't look bad, and it's $60. So, and the figures themselves are going $20. So, get that for the Power Ranger fan in your life.
Okay. All right. Next up, this is Spin Master's new Ninja Bots. Are cute little killers. Okay, so these are little toy. Well, is it like you pull on the string and they fly around or something?
I don't think they have strings, but yeah, I think there might be ones you like have to rev up. I can't remember. I'm not even sure why I even put that in the lineup. Not even comic related. So
all right, next up.
Move past that to G.I. Joe is unclassified in the new Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified series. So there's a deluxe action figure for Snake Eyes. It looks like almost a black figure type thing for black eyes. Has a figure with not a great looking Scarlet.
Yeah, I was about to say, a friend of the show, William Bruce West, was posting. I happened to catch some of his tweets or posts on the sculpting of these GI Joe unclassified figures, and that led me to take a look at them. And I am highly disappointed in the facial sculpts of some of these characters.
Yeah, they don't look
It's
that good. Yeah, the Roblox kind of looks like a mix of Shaq and Classic or something. I don't know. No, we stop. That's not.
I mean, I see the resemblance. I see what you're referring to, and
Yeah.
even the Duke, who's always the dorkiest, action figure back in the day. Even the Duke is pretty bad. So
Yeah.
the one thing that's disappointing. Actually, wait. Oh, he does come with guns. Okay, so the Snake Eyes might be a purchase because.
Well, yeah, it's a lot of stuff.
Right. The one thing that I saw that he came with was lots of martial arts weapons and a display stand, but I was disappointed in the photos that I had seen prior to actually looking at what we're looking at now. The box that he actually does come with an Uzi, which was the gun that he came with in the original action figure packaging. He also came with a satchel, not a man purse. So back in the day, so all you hardcore old school GI Joe collectors know what I'm talking about.
Right. So the Snake Eyes is $40. The rest of those are 20. So the Snake Eyes is probably the only one that's worth it out of all of that.
Wait, is the Snake Eyes one an exclusive? I thought I read that somewhere.
Oh,
it's Hasbro Pulse.
Yeah, Hasbro Pulse. But I think all of them are Hasbro Pulse though, so that's not
okay.
Yeah, it's available for pre-order at Hasbro Pulse first. Actually, it's already available at the time of this.
Oh, time to order.
It just says deluxe action figure, so I don't know if there's anything else to it. Next up, there's a bunch of tabletop games that were at Toy Fair, one of which happens to do with Scooby-Doo, which was Betrayal at House on the Hill, which is a tabletop game, but they made a version that was centered around Scooby-Doo. And there's a Dark Tower, which the Return of Dark Tower, I could have sworn there has been a game like that in the past. So this is a reissue or a rebranding or something like that. I can't remember. But for you board game fans, there's also a couple of a few Back to the Future board games that are also there. And if I'm not mistaken, there is I don't know if it's in here, but there is Funkoverse has a Jurassic Park one and a Jaws version of that Funkoverse game. That is that. Next up.
All right. There's a new Samurai Jack video game coming out. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, actually, and with that, I think. Oh no, there's a couple more. That actually. So there's a trailer in that article that actually looks not bad. Like this is like the first Samurai game since like PS2 era or something like that. Doesn't look terrible. So, and it's coming later this year, but so there's no definite date. Miles Morales, Ghost Spider, Hulk, and more get Venomized for new Spider-Man toy line.
Yeah, this is a little weird. I was kind of disappointed to see that this was going to be like an actual branch of the Marvel Legends.
Well, so I think that's the next one.
Oh, is that the next one? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think this is a different line outside of
it's not a legend. Oh, these are like a Titan. Oh, okay. So these are like Titan figures. Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
I wasn't 100% following this, so I'm glad to see that they're not Legends figures.
Right. So, but the next one is about the Marvel Legends one.
Right.
So
you can finish this one. Right.
Right. Hasbro's new Marvel Legends Gamerverse line includes Rage, Captain Marvel, Kamala Khan, and more. So yeah, so there's Marvel, there's Kamala Khan, there's Rage for some reason, which you know what, I'll probably get it, so I don't even why I'm saying that. There's a Gamerverse version of Kamala Khan because there's already
a comic version.
Right. And there's also a Build-A-Figure version with who is this?
Who's what? That's it's the Abomination from the video game. That's what right. That's one of the villains. That's the Build-A-Figure for this set.
From Marvel's Avengers, right? Because I was like, he wasn't in Spider-Man. Yeah, so that's and there's the leader, and there's I think it was Mach 1.
Yeah, and Mach 1. Yeah, this is definitely one of those pick and choose things. I'm definitely gonna target the leader because he's probably gonna be a peg warmer. So I'll be glad to pick off a leader off of a random peg at like a Walgreens.
Yeah. And like I said, there's a couple of there's a couple of Iron Men in here. There's Marvel.
Yeah, I
and-
mean, Kree Space Marvel,
yeah.
So,
So there's some things. There's a couple of them in there that might be worth getting. And I believe, let me see, there's two more. Kotobukiya debuts a magical Scarlet Witch Woman of Marvel statue, which actually looks not bad. But it's Kotobukiya, so what can you expect? It costs some money, and it will be coming sometime later this year. Oh wait, it will be in July in Japan, and who knows when it's going to come to the States. But you could probably pre-order by when it gets to Japan anyway, so it doesn't matter. But it looks good. Next up.
all right, Toy Fair 2020, brand new Funko Pops are coming. So, as always, one of our best sponsors, Funko, has got new pops coming, and they introduced some at Toy Fair 2020, including Valkyrie on her Pegasus heading into battle, Stan Lee straight out of Thor Ragnarok, and a bunch of keychains and Marvel Zombie figures.
Yeah. So there is that. And well, this is tangentially related, but Marvel and Kiss team up for a co-branded pop culture line.
What does that mean?
That means that Marvel has partnered with iconic rock group Kiss for Kiss times Marvel, a new co-branded pop culture merchandise collection uniting the two entities. I don't know what that means. So you see, and I feel wait, they did have a Marvel Kiss book like back in the day, did they not? I feel like there was a crossover.
Yeah,
like
they did.
Yeah.
They did.
In fact, yeah, it does say yeah, they have they're talking about the artwork from Kiss's 1976 Destroyer album, and looks like the figures, if this is to be the case, Wolverine, Black Panther, Silver Surfer, and the Hulk, I guess, are going to be represented in Kiss style. I don't know. This
You got me?
Yeah. But it's a thing that's got
who's gonna sing Beth? Who's gonna sing Rock and Roll All Night? And you got to be of a certain vintage to even recognize those songs.
Says the band's newest comic books have been published by Dynamite with their latest series, Kiss Zombies, launching last year. Oh yeah, they're just basically talking about the history of them dealing with comic stuff. So yeah, we'll see what comes to this later this year.
And I think the last Toy Story coming out of Toy Fair is Baby Yoda. Mandalorian and more minifigs are going to accompany Lego's Razor Crest set. That is the ship from The Mandalorian. PCN_dirt. Have you watched The Mandalorian?
I still haven't watched the. I don't know if it's the last two or the last one.
Okay, so you're almost done.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been taking it slow, working through it like a real TV series.
Sure.
How do you liking it so far? Or
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
I think you. I don't know what's your affinity with like the anime stuff like Clone Wars and.
Never really got into them.
Okay,
You should, because once Tim Dog 98 and Roddykat recommended it to me, like they kept referring to it over the course of our show. I was like, you know what? Let me catch up. And I caught up watching it before it came out on Disney Plus. So I watched it in reverse. When I say reverse, I mean mirror image, like illegal, like streaming content online.
Just so the YouTube filters wouldn't
exactly. That's how I watched it. And then when I finally watched legitimate copies through Disney Plus, I was like, oh my gosh, what did I miss? Holy cow!
So
for real.
Yeah, so basically, Baby Yoda's getting the minifigs. We already talked about the other animatronic thing, whatever, that from last week, and the Razor's Crest. The Razor Crest is going to get Lego form, and et cetera. So yeah,
Razor Crest looks pretty good.
Let us know what you think when you get to the end of that series, to the end of the Mandalorian. I'm curious what you think. Okay. So with that is all the Toy Fair type stuff, and I know you kind of alluded to.
Wait a minute. You're entirely skipping the Spin Master DC Comics line?
Wait, I don't. What is it?
Yeah, well, if you go to thatnewtoysmell.com, you can find the they've got a new line, 3 3/4 inch figures, plus collectible minifigures and capsules, plus stuff like the Batman cowl and Batmobiles and stuff like that coming out. They're doing more 12-inch, the big figures. But the 3 3/4 inch line, I find particularly, I love that size. You know, that's the classic G.I. Joe, Superpowers, Secret Wars size figures. But they're going to be coming in a package where you get the figure, and then next to it, it almost looks like a locker. And it's these cardboard perforated things that you open. There's accessories, different accessories in there, and you get mystery accessories. So they're going to kind of mix it up. So when you buy one, you're not necessarily going to get the same accessories as somebody else.
Wait, is that the thing that come in? I just saw something earlier that or maybe that's Funko, like they look like soda cans, but they had like little Batman figures or whatever, or other figures.
They're like little yellow capsules.
Okay.
To me, they look like Barrel of Monkeys type barrels, but
right, something you would get out of a gotcha.
Yeah, and they're in different poses. Those little collectible things. But those 3 3/4 inch figures, they also it looks like they're putting stickers on all of them that say first edition. So when they first produce the wave, they're going to have the stickers on there when they send them out to stores, which means if you're a collector that has to collect, then you're going to be scrounging around trying to find these first edition ones unopened in good packages for your collection. So they're kind of building the collector mentality back into some of this stuff, which, look, I don't care if I get a first edition or not on some of this stuff. There's some of these characters I look at, I'd like to have Flash, Reverse Flash. I think are always fun to have those two characters together. You know, some of that stuff. They're doing a Black Manta with Aquaman. They're going to do Shazam. They're also going to do a smaller Billy Batson to go with them. Some of this type of stuff. So they're doing the black suit Superman with the beard. You know, all of that type of stuff. So they're really digging through the catalog and doing a bunch of different stuff. But I don't care. If it's going to be a first edition or not a first edition, whatever. I'm going to rip it open and whatever, throw away the box. So I don't really care that much. But it's interesting that they're doing that and they're putting that back into people's hands. They're also going to do a simplified line that's going to be more of a like Walgreens type release where the figures so far I've only seen Batman, Joker, Nightwing, some of those type characters, similar to what Mattel has in Walgreens, where they have just simple basic figures on a Batman card. But what these are doing is they're going to be on a blister, a bubble that's going to be just big enough to hold a single figure. Mm-hmm. So it's basically cutting away all of the extra packaging to save as much money to make like this budget line, no accessories, none of that stuff, but make it cheaper. Put it in places like Walgreens, maybe throw it. It may also be at Walmart, places like that.
Right,
right. But make that cheap line that kids can once again get their hands on, and play with some of that stuff. And then I don't know why the 12-inch figures have become a big thing in the last 2 or 3 years. They have the 5 points of articulation where it's just the head, the shoulders, and the hips, and that's right. That move on those giant. But they're everywhere, and they keep. More and more companies keep making them.
So very quickly, because I know you have to go. I think my suspicion with those big figures is that they appeal to even younger kids who can just hold on to them and not lose them because they're big.
Yeah,
that's what I see. I literally see kids like that around. You know, when they're dragging action figures, those are the action figures that they're dragging with them.
Which makes sense.
Right, and I suspect that's the demographic. The target demographic are like the 2.5 and up, 3 and up. You know, like literally 3 and up, who can drag that around with them.
The other two things that jumped out to me at Toy Fair is one, Jazzwares is also doing an All Elite Wrestling line, which is going to be similar. We've had other companies, Impact, they've tried to do figures for or whatever. But the main thing in that line is they are doing a replica of the World Championship. And if you've seen that AEW World Championship belt, it looks nothing like a WWE belt. It looks like a Japanese style belt. It is beautiful, beautiful thing. And you can kind of see I do have a thing for some of these replica belts that I have laying around here.
Yeah, you definitely do.
So looking forward to that. And then the last thing is from a company called Boss Fight Studios. They have a Legends of Lucha Libre line coming out. They're going to have figures, have a ring, but they're also going to do these things that are They're 3 3/16 inch. So figure that out for yourself.
Sure.
But it's a bust. It's going to be like this, like a black PVC bust with the Lucha Libre masks that come on it, and they're going to be blind boxed. There's going to be a couple variations of each character's mask that they have in there. You're going to have guys like Pentagon, Super Astro, Solar, Tenebris Jr., Conan. If you remember, Conan used to be masked, Ray Phoenix, and again with a couple different versions because they always have different color combinations on a bunch of the stuff. So you'll buy them, you'll get the little bust and then the mask that sits on it, and it's just a perfect little thing to rip open and have a bunch of them sitting on your shelf where you can see the different masks, and they'll come off, so they'll actually be a smaller version of the mask, so you can actually feel the fabric and look at it and compare them to some of the other stuff, which I've always been enthralled by. Those masks I've been known to wear one or two, a time or two.
I mean, on the show, of course.
And so, in fact, that's the gimmick I picked back up on Byte. So if you go look at the Byte comic reviews, I'm in a different mask in every single one of those. So, but that was the other thing, because you don't see a lot of Lucha Libre stuff in the U.S. If you want to import the stuff from Mexico, Central America, you can find the stuff and get it imported. But to have it here in the U.S., it's pretty cool to see that stuff showing back up again in the marketplace. So, wrestling related, those last two, not really comic related, but I'm sure people appreciate seeing that stuff. And you can see more of that stuff if you go to thatnewtoysmell.com, part of the Popcorn Network.
I was about to say, I'm just perusing the that toy that what is it, the new toy smell
Spin Master page you got out.
That new toy smell. I'm on the Spin Master gallery, and I am very impressed by the 3 3/4 DC line. I'm more impressed by these little figures than I am by the McFarlane DC line that has come out. And I honestly can say that I think I would be interested in picking up several of the cleaner looking ones, not the kids ones. Like the more sophisticated looking ones for myself, for like my shelf back here. The little 3 3/4 ones.
One of my problems with a lot of the 6-inch and 7-inch figures that come out from a lot of these companies, they have a lot of detail. That's great. They're $20. They're $25. They're $30.
Oh, you can get them on Target at Target on sale for $10 on clearance. I kid you not, Dirt. Right. I picked this up on an end cap the new Beta Ray bill for $10 at a Target.
Yeah, Walgreens. I don't know if you're aware of this, but if Walgreens has stuff that goes on clearance,
it's $9.99 too. Yeah.
Well, it's up to the manager. The manager gets to decide what the clearance price is. We have a dozen Walgreens within 3 miles of here. You can go any direction, swing a dead cat, you're going to hit a Walgreens, which I do on Tuesdays. But anyway, but you go into one Walgreens, something will be on clearance, and it's like $2 off the normal price. You go to another Walgreens in town, it'll be on clearance for like $3
total.
One time, when the wave with Invisible Woman came out, and she had the Herbie robot.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so the way that Walgreens ships this stuff out, if someone's not familiar with the way Walgreens does this stuff, is they have these totes at the warehouse. Yeah. They'll open the tote, they'll open the case of toys, they'll dump 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever in there. They shut the tote, they put the sticker on it, and they send it off to the store. So you're randomly getting stuff pulled out of these cases. So you're not guaranteed to get full sets of this stuff showing up at your local Walgreens. And part of the idea is to get you to drive around, whatever. Right. Well, at our local store,
bastards. Anyway,
one of the totes came. The guy opened it up, and it was 5 of the Invisible Woman and Herbie. That's all he got was 5 of those, nothing else.
Okay.
He was like, fine, whatever. He puts it on the shelf, but then he goes in and tells the inventory system that they're sold, so that they'll send new ones. And he figures he'll like damage them out, whatever. He doesn't care. He wants better figures than 5 Invisible Womans and Herbies. He gets the next tote. It's 5 Invisible Women and Herbies. So he got 10 of Invisible Woman and Herbie, and that's all he got out of that wave at his store. He put them all on clearance.
Those were exclusives.
He put them all on clearance at like $4. He wanted them out of the store.
Wow.
So I walked in there one day, and I just see this end cap that's just completely full, and I'm like, aren't these new? and they're like $4 just because that manager
Right.
didn't want them. So he used his ability to just clearance them out and put them at $4.
Wow, I wish I had idiot managers like
Work out for me.
here.
So hey, get to know the manager of your local Walgreens.
Seriously.
You never know.
Dun, 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 dun. So with that,
The more you know.
so anything did you outside of what you just said kind of sparked your interest? I know you said earlier that there wasn't really much that kind of.
Yeah, I again, a lot of the stuff we're seeing is the same Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the same Aliens, the same, Thundercats and GI Joe, and I guess GI Joe has been gone for a little while, so that is a little different. I guess I do. There is an Andre the Giant figure coming out from Super 7. Super 7 is also doing the Thundercat stuff. They're going to have the reaction, the smaller figures, and then they're going to also be doing the big 6-inch, 7-inch figures based on those because they lost the Masters of the Universe line that's going back to Mattel because the new animated He-Man animated is coming out, so they figured there's money in it, so they took it back. But I mean, outside of that, like that's cool. Like I like Thundercats, and it's good to see some stuff again. They are going to do some reaction Run DMC figures. So you can see the prototypes of those at thatnewtoysmell.com if you want to look at those. They're still technically waiting for licensor approval, whatever. You just get to see the prototypes and like the blue PVC, whatever. But again, I look at so much of this stuff, and ever since Toys R Us went out of business, so many of the toy lines are the same. You're going to get Transformers, you're going to get WWE, you're going to get Aliens has now been a thing for like 3 or 4 years. You're getting a lot of the same stuff. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, just over and over and over. And one like Playmates will run through everything. So then they'll let Super 7 go at it. So Super 7 will make reaction figures and make whatever, type of stuff based off it. And then it'll go to somebody else, Boss Fight Studios, and they'll make bobbleheads based off them. But you're just seeing like the same licenses, the same stuff every year. You never see any of those weird new toy things come out anymore. Like that's one of the things I loved about Toys R Us is walking around and just seeing the weird like there was a line, I used to have one sitting here for a long time. I don't know, I think I finally moved it. But they were called like Havoc's machines. And so you had like a little car. It was like a Micro Machines car. And you had this thing which was just like a bundle of armor. And the car would slide in and a magnet would release the armor. And it would suddenly turn into like a jet or a submarine or a giant spider robot thing. And you just don't see the weird stuff like that anymore. Stuff like Mask, never seems to come back around anymore. It was a one time and it's gone. And it's probably just too much work, too many moving pieces and little parts to try to get together on that stuff. And so I look at a lot of the Toy Fair stuff and it's like, okay, yeah, that's whatever, but I just don't have that same excitement for it because you're not seeing new stuff coming into the marketplace. You're just seeing reimaginings and reworkings of the old stuff. And I like Transformers, I like Thundercats, I like that kind of stuff, but I'm just I want something different and new mixed into it, and you don't get that anymore.
Sure, and I suspect with that Power Rangers Teenage Mutant Ninja crossover that's going on now, I suspect there probably going to be a line of that coming up.
And it's like they did the WWE Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles figures a couple of years ago, and it's like, okay, well that's neat, but again, it's the same properties. Right. They're mixing it up. It's like having a guy, if you know someone who makes custom toys, who will make that kind of stuff, then you see that and they go, okay, well now they're going to be mass producing that. But you look at a lot of the stuff from NECA and Mezco, and it's the same Scooby-Doo and Nightmare Before Christmas and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and, just the same stuff over and over. More Halloween figures, cool. I like Michael Myers, but it's just like with Jason Voorhees and Freddy. It's like we've seen them all. Find something else. Like work for something else. Like at least somebody needs to make Phantasm balls. There's just a big silver ball, and you click the little thing with your thumb, and the little razor thing pops out the front. It's like nobody's ever made those toys. I could go for some of that.
Somebody's probably going to remake that at some point soon, so you probably will get your wish.
But I would assume someone would have done it, 5 years ago.
And you would think.
So anyway, yeah. So that's what I'm that's all I'm really saying. I'm just kind of, moaning and complaining about that. It's every year just feels like the same stuff over and over and over and over. It's like, okay, well, that's cool, but can we mix something new in there?
Go online and order your G.I. Joe Classified series Snake Eyes, because I'm about to.
And Baby Yoda.
Yeah, but see, for me, the draw of G.I. Joe was always the 3 3/4 inch.
Right.
So.
And they're probably never going to go back to that.
And I still have a bunch of those.
Oh, I have a few mine. So.
And actually, the fun thing was, several years ago, they made some Duck Dynasty figures in the 3 3/4 inch. So we started taking the G.I. Joe vehicles and putting the Duck Dynasty guys on them.
Oh.
So to see the Duck Dynasty
guys, sacrilege. The sacrilege.
Fantastic.
Oh, shots fired. Oh, literally with the stupid shotgun. Here, go away, Duck Dynasty with G.I. All right, Doug.
And with that, as always, it's been fun having you. I don't know when we're going to get another allotment of you again.
Yeah, things have worked out. I was going to say it's worked out well, but it's also been kind of bad. The last, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks, every Wednesday or Thursday, it seems like we get a new Snowmageddon that hits Central Illinois. So it's like, hey, all the weather guys are like, you're gonna get anywhere from 3 to 10 inches of snow tomorrow. And it's like, okay, well, great. Thanks for the update. So everything gets canceled. So many things have gotten canceled week after week after week after week. So I'd say probably the last 3 or 4 weeks, it's like things kept getting canceled and pushed back. Oh, we'll do it next week. And then, well, we'll do it next week. And things. So finally, I just had this empty space, nothing's going on, everything's been canceled because of the weather and everything, so I finally had a chance to jump back on here, so it was good to be back.
I still think that the weather's so bad
back in the same spot and figure out whatever the situation is going to be going forward, but get all four of us back together would be great. Just one time.
I know, it's been too long.
Yeah.
And not be a thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say we've mentioned it a couple times here on the live stream, but the live stream service we're using right now is going to go away.
Yeah. Well, not go away. We just on it because of the
they just want to charge a ridiculous amount for us to keep using it going forward. So, gonna have to find a new thing again, and that's going to be.
So, but stay tuned for that because we'll have to do it by next week. So that'll be great.
Yeah.
But anyway,
all right. Anyway, again, thanks for having me. I will see you guys at some point in the future.
Got it. See you soon. All right.
Yep.
So PCN_Dirt has stepped away. We have done our Toy Fair news, which was awesome. It was great to be able to talk toys in depth with multiple voices chiming in.
And the stream is still on the old thing, so we just got to deal with it this one time.
Right. So
let's just continue with the comic book stuff, and then we'll right back to the cinematic.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right.
On EA reportedly canceling. There was actually one real quick I was going to tell you. Speaking of Toy Fair stuff, and I think this was before Toy Fair, but I don't know if you saw it. But Funko is going to come out with basically the Ready to Die album cover with a little Funko Pop of the little baby. So
really?
They're doing like the album cover of Funko stuff. Because I know they did have they already had the Biggie and they had the Run DMC back in there. So now they're doing like album cover Funko stuff that I saw like a week or so ago. And I meant to tell you about that.
Oh, I see it now. It's up for pre-order on Entertainment Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow.
So I was like, okay, I might have to, and I totally forgot to tell you about it when I saw it. So I was like,
that's funny as hell. Oh my gosh.
I don't know what else they're doing, but I know that was the one that I was like, okay, I might have to.
I'm gonna have to get that.
Exactly. So, but anyway, EA reportedly canceled another Star Wars game in 2019. There was a new report that claimed that Electronic Arts canceled a previously unknown Star Wars project in 2019. That's not Star Wars 1313 or whatever it was. There was another one. The Star Wars project is said to have been in development at EA Vancouver in partnership with Criterion. So that's interesting. So Criterion are the ones who made the Burnout games and are making Need for Speed games now. But anyway, codename Viking. The game would have been a spinoff of the Star Wars Battlefront series, which I think Criterion also has a hand in somewhere. with open world elements. However, the project was apparently canceled once EA executives realized that it wouldn't be ready for release in time for the launch of the next gen consoles. They could still put it out, but that's kind of ridiculous. So yeah, so apparently that wasn't. So the one we knew about wasn't the only project, Star Wars project, that was canceled last year.
Okay.
Well, actually, 1313 was before that, but still, there was definitely another one that was canceled last year. Anyway, Nate, moving right along.
All right. Speaking of Star Wars video games, Star Wars Battlefront 2 Age of Rebellion update adds more maps, weapons, and Ewoks, going back to the original trilogy. So DICE has been steadily updating the game with lots of that stuff drawn from the prequels and sequels. But starting this month, it's the Age of Rebellion's turn. So all of you players of Battlefront 2, enjoy.
Yeah, I need to finish that. I mean, I need to play that so I can get it off my system. And I'm not saying it in a bad way, just like there are games. I got a backlog of games that I need to get through. So hopefully I get to see some of that stuff, even though I probably won't mess with the PvP stuff. Star Wars Project Luminous reveals pre-Skywalker saga comics and novels, and I believe it is being called the High
Republic.
Yes, there we go. And it takes place 200 years ago, which is basically before the prequels, like well before the prequels, and well after Old Republic. So it says High Republic, which takes place 200 years in the golden age of the Republic before the Skywalker saga. The major selling point is this era will not be tied into any planned films or television series, allowing the creators an opportunity to tell all new adventures. So yeah, and there was an announcement a couple of nights ago as this was recording, with an announcement trailer of said books and whatnot that is coming for this, including, I'm just going to take this next one because it's included in this.
I was about to say I was going to talk about this one specifically.
Okay, cool.
I'll add to it. You go ahead.
All right. Star Wars: The High Republic is introducing a new Wookie Jedi.
Well, the headline is first Wookie Jedi. And I'm like, no, I had the first Wookie Jedi in my role-playing campaign.
Yeah. And people who probably played Star Wars, the Star Wars MMO from a few years ago. I'm pretty sure somebody rolled a Wookiee Jedi if you could do such a thing. But yeah. Oh man, never mind. We have to talk about that. That's the thing we have to talk about. Do you still have that character?
Probably written down somewhere.
Okay, something to keep in the pocket. Anyway, so yeah, along with all that stuff, we now have a canonized Wookiee Jedi, which I was watching. Was it watching Clone Wars? I was watching something recently. I was like, why was there not a Wookiee Jedi?
Well, there was a Wookiee Padawan.
Oh right, there was a youngling, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, but he got cut down. Thanks, Anakin. Anyway, so that is the thing. And this is like I said, the that stuff is coming. Charles Soules is writing. I think his book is out. No, it's not out. It's gonna be out August 25th. The Light of the Jedi, which is his novel, which is starting off the High Republic initiative. So that is the thing. Wait, and apparently that Wookiee's name is Buryaga Agaburi, according to Charles Soule, and he is wonderful. The lady in front is named Avar Chris. The other folks' names too, you'll meet them later. So yeah, so we will be hearing more about this going forward. I'm pretty sure there's going to be some comics come out of this era. Rest assuredly. So going from that, next up.
Right. Marvel's going to adapt Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. So no big surprise there.
No big surprise. They've done that for the last couple. So one mutant could, which is, I think this might be starting to get to what I was alluding to earlier. One mutant could reveal the high cost of the X-Men's resurrection protocols. And this is an article. This is not dealing with any book, but this is basically an article. Pretty much kind of, I guess it's basically a speculation piece from this article from this author dealing with Layla Miller and going into the Dawn of X stuff. So, and I guess her role in what could be coming up or something, or a potential thing that they could be talking about coming up. But next up,
right? This is a spoiler for Wolverine #1 by Ben Percy and Adam Hubert. We talked about this. Wolverine pointing out a potential flaw in the resurrection process, specifically, the mental trauma that that you bring with you as you're resurrected. So you don't exactly come back a clean slate,
right? And as this article points out, as a person who has died a whole bunch, Wolverine would know about that, especially being cut in half fairly recently. He didn't die, but that's some stuff you got to deal with.
Yep.
Kitty Pryde demonstrates a new ability and it's intoxicating. This is also from last week's Wolverine. And so basically her phasing powers can allow her to take a drink without actually ingesting through her mouth. Sadly, she can't do that with an ocean of water. But yeah, so basically they showed that off in Wolverine #1, and it's like, that's an interesting power to have. But and apparently it's something that came from 2002's Mechanics series. So it's nothing new.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Next up.
Right, so I did not read this book this week. There's supposed to be a startling discovery on Krakoa in Giant Size X-Men Jean Grey and Emma Frost #1 out this week.
Yep, and we will find that out when either of us
when we get to read it. Yes.
Next up, X-Men, and speaking of X-Men 7, Cryptic Issues #7 teaser promises Crucible is today. Neither one of us read it. Tim did. We already told you how that works out. I
read it.
Oh wait, you did say that's right. You did.
Oh, my click of the week.
My apologies. That's right, because you went with Tim on it. My apologies. I haven't read it yet. How about that?
There you go. We didn't want to spoil it, so that's why we're not going to talk too much at length.
So yeah, so I'm just gonna. I put this in here thinking I was gonna actually have read it by now, but I did not. So we're just gonna skip past that and go to
the first Dragon Ball English dub episode by Harmony Gold.
No.
What's that?
No.
That's not it. That was a spillover.
Oh no, that's spillover for cinematic.
Oh, my bad.
Sorry.
Scrolling down. Jeez, modern Marvel artists pay homage to Giant Size X-Men with page-by-page recreation. So a group of Marvel Comics artists, including Alex Ross, Carmen Carnero, Mark Brooks, and more, will pay homage to writer Len Wein and artist Dave Cockrum's classic Giant Size X-Men #1 by recreating the issue page by page in their own styles. That's cool.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. So check it out. It is due May 27th, and it's called Giant Size X-Men Tribute to Wayne and Cockrum.
There's a lot of news here. We got to fly through this.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to.
Good.
Marvel versus. The Marvel versus Voices book that came out last week was not the only stuff that was done. There's a podcast if you haven't checked that out, but there's also a bunch of essays on Marvel's site that you can check out, and there's a lot of good stuff in there, so I implore you to do so. This is just kind of letting you know that that stuff is out there by some notable internet peoples. Next up,
so as part of the Man versus the Machine War and the Iron Man 2020 event, out this week is Force Works 2020 #1. It involves a new military MCU super team that recruits 2 secret Avengers.
Yes. I was going to read this, didn't get a chance to yet.
Too much out this week.
Yeah, no. Well, there's that, and plus I still didn't get caught up on the other 2020 stuff because
Right.
I didn't go back and read that second issue or whatever, or the first one, to come to think of it. But anyway, Carol Danvers wields the power of all the Avengers in Captain Marvel #16. See a preview of the 150th issue of Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel #16 is on sale Wednesday, March 18th, and as it's just stated, it's 150 issues of Carol. It's written by Kelly Thompson, art by Lee Garbett. Carol finds herself at war with a human side and a Kree side, but while she has her own internal struggle, she has to face Fox Supreme. Will having the power of every Avenger help her? You would think so. And there's a preview. Underneath that, if you are so inclined. Next.
All right, so there's a story on CBR saying that Marvel has just confirmed that Mephisto is the biblical devil, and somehow this is a problem. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure either because I didn't read that because it was for that Ghost Rider Mother of Demons book that came out last week, and I didn't read it. And
okay.
Also, so there's
right.
obviously
Yeah, there's still a little bit of gray. There's got to be some gray area that they leave themselves. So
not well, from what I remember skimming through this article, it doesn't seem like it, but that's it's the interpretation of what the author says. So
right, exactly.
The Eternals, the complete saga collected in a hardcover omnibus, coming ahead of theatrical film release. So Marvel Comics has released the Eternals comics, the Eternals, the complete saga omnibus hardcover, coming August 26th. So if you're a fan of the Eternals, you can go check this out. It will have a bunch of old stories from Jack Kirby, Peter B. Gillis, Walt Simonson, Roy Thomas, and a bunch of others. It is a big book at 1,220 pages, hardcover, and retails for $125.
Nice.
Yeah. Nick? Yeah, right.
Seriously. Next up, a new experimental comic book publisher, Bad Idea, is coming soon to select comic shops. They announced at the annual Comics Pro Industry Conference in Portland, Oregon, that in response to inquiries, they will be doubling the size of their first wave of participating retailers from 20 to 50 stores, beginning with the debut of ENIAC, #1 by Matt Kint and Doug Braithwaite in May 2020.
So yeah, that's the thing. Comics Pro 2020 Industry Award winners revealed. So yeah, Comics Pro had their industry Industry Award and Memorial Awards winners announced at Comics Pro Comic Industry Conference, which just happened fairly recently. And I will not read off the names or anything because actually I don't see it, only gives a little bit of it. So there you go. That happened. Congratulations to everybody that won. Next.
All right. DC's revealed content in the cover for From Beyond the Unknown Giant #1. This is a Green Lantern. I guess it includes a bunch of new stories. It seems like this is an anthology type release.
Yeah, it seems like. So cool. Wally West makes the ultimate sacrifice for an incredible power. This is a spoiler for that Flash Forward #6, which I think has already come out. I think it was last week. None of us have been reading it. So apparently Wally West becomes godlike with the help of the Mobius chair. And yeah. Next.
Kevin Smith offers a Batman Bellicosity update. This was a sequel to Kevin Smith and Walter Flanagan's Batman Widening Gyre, which concluded in 2010. The sequel, Batman Bellicosity, had been planned for release in 2014. It is now 2020, and it is all Kevin Smith's fault, and he takes full responsibility for it.
But apparently he has a red folder, so it's okay. And the big news from this week, DC's Dan DiDio out as co-publisher. And the internet had a whole lot of words one way or the other about it.
I was pretty surprised to hear this.
Kind of, but at the same time, I don't know. There are people who's like, well, what's the angle on it? We're like, what's going on? What's caused, what's the dirt on it? I'm like, I'm just thinking, even sometimes it's time to go. Sometimes it's time to you got to go. Like, maybe there is something, but at the same time, it's like maybe dude was like, you know what? I know when I got to go. It is kind of a surprise, but at the same time, not really. Like I said, he's been at it.
But it wasn't voluntary,
right?
It was not voluntary. He was let go. So Jim Lee is left as the sole publisher of DC Comics, and I believe more change is likely afoot.
Yes. So,
all right.
which I just said, so we don't really have to talk about it because the comics industry reacts to his departure. So yeah. Next,
right. I was gonna jump straight into the fact that DC had a panel at C2E2 called Meet the DC Publishers, and they canceled it following DiDio's exit.
mm-hmm. So, which yeah, happens. Ranger Slayer chooses a direction in Power Rangers Ranger Slayer, which looks like it's a one shot for the Ranger Slayer, which is basically a future version of Kimberly Hart. Says discover the shocking consequences for Kimberly Hart and Lord Dracon's universe in Power Rangers Ranger Slayer one shot. It is. I was looking for a price that I'm not seeing, but it's coming soon. It's coming in June. So there you go. Check that out if you're so inclined. Next.
All right. So Christopher Priest's Vampirella universe grows with Sacred Six team book from that's actually going to be done by artist Gabriel Ibarra and Jay Lee. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, did I miss that one? I think I did. Oh shoot. That might have been my fault.
What's that?
I think I might have skipped that one, but that's fine.
Which one? The Power Rangers?
No, the one you talking about.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think I was supposed to do Power Rangers, actually. Or did you just do that one?
No, I just did that one. No, the Priest one, fine. No, I'm just saying I didn't have it up, so that's fine. Which I don't know why it matters because no one can see this anyway.
Right. I was going to say, don't waste your time.
Yeah, I know. Let's see. Ranger Slayer. Here we go. Oh, Power Rangers, TMT, Boom, and IDW debut the Ninja Rangers and Turtle Rangers. So that new crossover is basically be getting more toys that'll, like I said earlier, will come out later on. But to promote the March release of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #4, Boom and IDW have released artist Simone DeMayo's character designs for Ninja Rangers and Turtle Rangers. The Ninja Rangers are the original Mighty Morphin Power Ranger team of Zach, Kimberly, Jason, Trini, and Billy, reimagined as well ninjas. And of course, the Turtle Rangers are the turtles dressed in the Power Rangers gear. And apparently, April O'Neil is also suiting up as the Black Ranger. So I really need to go ahead and read that. I still haven't read that yet, but I'll get around to it. Next up, Vault Comics announces Heavy, a new series from Max Bemis and Eric Donovan. It's about psychedelic deconstruction of a character similar to The Punisher, a dark, violent comedy about love and the transcendence of toxic masculinity. Heavy #1 is on sale May 27th, 2020. Yay. And last in the comic book news, but we're going to wrap around the cinematic, is the new Agretsuko comic has an important message about flu season. Listen up, nasties. Like many people working in the big cities, Agretsuko's Retsuko gets up every day, squeezes into a subway car full of coughing and sneezing people, make her way downtown. In her office, I'm sure Agent 70 can relate.
Hey, let's not talk about this. It's too close to home.
Huh?
I said that's a little too close to home.
Hey, I mean, hey, comics do it. In her office, she sits in a cubicle for hours on end while breathing in stale air, conditioned air. The routine is always terrible. Basically, blah 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 blah. Writer Daniel Barnes and illustrator DJ Kirkland opens up with a new slice of life for. So basically, she has a commentary on flu season. So without going too far, so. I know at least one person that's probably will be reading that book, but I am not that one because I haven't been watching the anime. So if you are, you know the deal is. So now we're going to wrap back around to the cinematic news in an unprecedented turn of events. And we're going to start off with Arrow showrunner shuts down Green Arrow and the Canary series pickup rumor. So apparently the spinoff series Green Arrow and the Canaries is still in development, but hasn't been picked up yet. And that is according to the showrunner Beth Schwartz, who shut down a rumor that Green Arrows and the Canaries has been ordered to series, which I thought might have been going around now that I think about it, but I don't know. She quoted the report, which claimed the spinoff had opened up production office in Vancouver and was and was moving the series and wrote, "I wish this was true." So apparently, yeah, that which was reported was not true. So hopefully it'll get picked up if it was meant to. Next up.
All right, actor Natalie Dreyfus has discussed playing Sue Dearborn in The Flash and how her relationship with Ralph Dibny, the elongated man, won't just have her end up as Ralph's arm candy. Good for her.
Let's just hope it doesn't end up like her characters does in the comics.
Right.
Yeah, this version is like different from the comic book because she's like Catwoman or something from accounts. So already decidedly different from the comics.
You got me.
Yeah, no. I mean, I've read that, so because there was another article saying as much. But yeah, like I said, hopefully it doesn't come out to be an identity crisis victim. Anywho, the Batman set photo reveals the full costume and Batbike. It looks like a Batman thing and looks like a Batbike.
I mean, seriously, honestly, my feeling on this when I saw it was I honestly can't believe how fortunate we were to get a streamlined but still realistic looking Captain America costume. When I see this, because say again.
I said this armor looks like it just got patched together. This suit looks like it just got. I'm gonna take some shoulder pads and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna take this gun and make it to the bat symbol. But again, I think from what I saw, some people saying, or a couple of people saying online, was like it does look like a younger, unsure Batman who's just starting, kind of like a year one Batman, which I guess this is supposed to be.
Right. And I know, I understand. I absolutely understand the aesthetic, and I understand the thought process behind it. But again, I am reminded of the fact that what's essentially like one of the cornier looking costumes, we actually got a really good representation of it on screen, and I can't believe how fortunate we all were to see that Captain America costume portrayed that way, because now we've seen so many different iterations of the Batman costume.
Right.
Every version has tried to update and try to improve upon previous versions, and this one seems to be. It looks, well, obviously it's still very early, and obviously there are still visual effects to take into account. So especially with the cape. So we will see how that works out.
If Lightstream was cooperating, you'd see what that looked like for yourself. But it's you'll be able to do that, or you probably have already seen it by now because the internet has been kind of talking about it. Next up, Batman Ninja headed to the stage as play adaptation in Japan. So Batman Ninja, which was basically the anime style Batman animated series, animated movie that came out earlier late year, is now being turned into a stage play. Weird. In Japan. So yeah. Next up.
All right. So the Suicide Squad began shooting at Atlantis Pinewood Atlanta Studios and then moved to Panama, where filming has officially wrapped, according to director James Gunn. They have wrapped their time in Panama.
So yeah. So
Panama.
Okay. So yeah, and I guess now all that's left is post stuff and whatever. Hopefully there's no Snyder cuts or whatever else madness they're talking about on the internet now. Harley Quinn showrunner addresses a future Harley Ivy romance, and I believe also says why there wasn't in the first season of that Harley Quinn animated show.
Have you seen Birds of Prey?
I have not seen either one of them. I've not seen Birds of Prey. I've not seen this animated series yet, so no.
Right, my trial of DC Universe has ended, so I'm not paying for that.
I think actually I'm not sure how much time I have left. I think it's probably coming up, but I don't know. We'll see. There's some stuff I still hadn't messed around with especially like Titans and whatnot. But anyway, we get to that. So yeah, there's a reason why their romance hadn't shown up on that series yet. Wait, have you seen Birds of Prey?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, one of these days we'll get to it. Next up.
All right. What are we on? Justice League Dark?
Mm-hmm.
Justice League Dark, Apocalypse Wars, massive voice cast has been revealed. Okay, so Jerry O'Connell, Jason O'Mara, Rosario Dawson, Shamar Moore, Christopher Gorham, and Roger R. Cross will also reprise their roles of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, The Flash, and Jon Stewart, respectively. Cross will also reprise his Justice League Dark role of Swamp Thing, while Rainn Wilson will return to the role of Lex Luthor. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Matt Ryan is going to be reprising the role of John Constantine from the previous Justice League Dark movie. Okay.
Right. And everything else he's John Constantine wise.
Mhm.
Batman Begins is Liam Neeson says he's done with superhero movies. I don't care. We're probably done with him at this point after that thing he said. Anyway,
Yep.
The 67-year-old Northern Irish-born actor sat down with Entertainment Tonight to discuss his role with another movie. He says he's no longer has desire to star in superhero genre. He said he'll be honest with you. I'm not really a huge fan of the genre, and basically says he doesn't like squeezing into the suit and having to go to the gym.
Go away. All right. That's all I have to say about that.
Yep.
The Clone Wars extended hiatus will only make its end sweeter. So what, episode 2's out today. We bled into Friday, but later today we will have episode 2 of season 8, right?
7.
Sorry, season 7.
Yeah, and apparently, according to the next article, it seems like Star Wars: The Clone Wars will cross over into Revenge of the Sith after all, because all the series has been taking place so far between that terrible Attack of the Clone movies and Revenge of the Sith, and sounds like with this season it's going to maybe possibly bleed in past that. So, according to this article, and I'm not going to read it just in case it says something
spoilery.
Well, I don't think it says anything about that first episode that I hadn't already seen in that trailer. So,
right.
But yeah, so it sounds like it may.
Oh, you haven't watched the first episode yet?
No, not yet. No.
What?
Watch.
Okay. I'm not going to say anything then. All right. New writer director. What's that?
But anyway, go ahead.
A new writer director duo has been tapped to develop Star Wars film or TV project. Director J.D. Dillard Slate and screenwriter Matt Owens, The Defenders, Luke Cage, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., are developing a Star Wars project for Lucasfilm, according to The Hollywood Reporter.
I have heard decent things about that movie Slight, and I remember seeing the trailer for it, but I've never seen it. So
neither have I.
Yeah, but I have heard some decent things from a couple of people. I'm like, I may check that out. Who knows? So yeah, there could be another Star Wars movie, and by this people, which might be kind of cool because I believe the dude over that Slight movie. Slight is that horror movie. Oh wait, I may not actually watch that. But anyway, I believe that's a black dude. So rock on. But yeah, so stay tuned for more info on that whenever that happens. The Mandalorian featurette explores its game-changing virtual set, which I believe is taken from Fortnite tech from accounts. But yeah, so basically there's a featurette on the Mandalorian, I guess the Blu-ray when it comes out, that talks about the CG stuff that they had going on, which is kind of interesting actually, but I'll check it out at some point. And I think actually, wait, it might be embedded in this video, but you can check that out if that is the case. Next up.
All right. The Mandalorian fan theory ties the Armorer to the Clone Wars. So the Armorer, the sort of blacksmith priestess of the Enclave on the Mandalorian, made a definitive impact in season 1.
Including with some stormtroopers at the end of
The theory not only suggests that she was aligned with Darth Maul during the events of Star Wars on Mandalore, but also that her siding with Mando in his spat with Paz Vizsla may have something to do with Vizsla's allegiance to Death Watch.
How's Vizsla, y'all?
Interesting.
Yes. So, and I would assume we can kind of assume because they are going to be going back into Mandalore during season 7 of the Clone Wars, so maybe there's a chance we'll probably see a little bit more in that with that. So I'm looking forward to getting back to the point where they do the Mandalore stuff in general and getting back to and doing this. So, Marvel's WandaVision set photos confirm Monica Rambeau is working for Sword.
Interesting. That's an interesting twist.
Yeah, no, right? So new set photos for WandaVision confirm Monica Rambeau, Tiana Parrish works for Sword, and show her working with Jimmy Woo as one of the first shows from Marvel Studios that arrived on plus WandaVision was set. But it's So
right.
yeah, that's the big.
It's an interesting way to introduce the character, and I hate to say this, but so many of these characters are going to have their origins redone, so that they will, better fit into the MCU.
Hers could technically still kind of go off relatively how hers did if they play it right.
Well, I mean, whatchamacallit? Wasn't there like a scientist that, you know what I mean? Wasn't there like a scientist that, or something that she was assisting or something like that?
Yeah, but she's be working for Sword, so it's not like she won't be like, hey, it's some interdimensional thing.
No, but that's my point. Like, it's a easier entry into getting her exposed to the cosmic side. That's my point. So that's why I said, oh, it's just slightly adjusted so that it's easier to introduce her into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right, but hers will be easier than others. That was kind of my point with So, but
I was about to say the way they did it makes it easier. So
yeah.
All right.
Next up, when that goes down later this year, even if they get that far, because they may not even go into it.
Right.
Although there's rumors that supposedly she's supposed to be, so we'll see. Anyway, Hasbro confirmed, this is weird. Hasbro confirms Hawkeye and Miss Marvel Disney Plus release window. Hasbro. But Hasbro's presentation at Toy Fair 2020 confirmed the 2021 release windows for several Marvel shows on Disney Plus, notably Hawkeye and Miss Marvel, which that Hawkeye one was still sort of up in the air last we checked, but who knows? The news is buried deep in Hasbro's extensive presentation, but one slide shows Hawkeye and Miss Marvel slated for 2021 alongside Loki and What If, which kind of had me thinking, what are they even doing with this information? Because it's Hasbro, but at the same time, it's a toy line that's probably coming along, or something that's coming along with it. So I don't know. Next up,
Disney has a new chief executive officer. Bob Iger has stepped down. So he stepped down from his role. The company announced Tuesday. It was a very surprising day. It was a surprising news on a very surprising day, because I think the notification I got on my phone was Disney has tweeted for the first time in a long time. And
one of those,
right. And the change is effective immediately. The new chief executive is Bob Chapek or Chapek, the former chairman of Disney's Parks, Experiences, and Products division. So, listen, Bob Iger led Disney into becoming, pretty much the entertainment giant that it is today.
Some would say monopoly, almost.
Oh, I wouldn't say monopoly, but definitely.
I said almost also. So.
Right. Because at the end of the day, having sucked up all of the properties associated with 20th Century Fox really, really, set Disney apart from any media giant that had ever come before. So I think I think that may be the crown jewel of his time at at the head of Disney. Although one would argue that having acquired Pixar and Marvel were gigantic coups
They're big deals, yeah.
to expand Disney's market and Disney's demographics.
Right. I mean, basically, yeah, they've been printing money for the last few years now with those acquisitions. So all this dude, and I'm being reductive, but all this dude has to do is kind of coast on that for a little while before anything meaningful has to be done in his reign. Again, being reductive because that's not entirely true. But hey. Yeah, they're coasting on money. It's Scrooge McDuck's money bin has got like 2 new wings or whatever. Anyway, moving right along. New Marvel movie release date set by Sony for 2021, and we have no idea what it is. Someone says, well, not someone, but according to this thing, it says Sony has a date for a mystery Marvel movie, and some people have been pointing out the mysterious part and speculating that it might be a Mysterio movie. But apparently there's a tweet that read, Sony's web continues to grow, untitled Sony Marvel pick now set for October 8th, 2021. Who knows? Like, we know Venom's coming out. We know that Morbius movie's coming out. It could be another Spider-Man movie. It could be this Mysterio movie for some stupid reason, which would be kind of funny given Amazing Mary Jane. But who knows? I guess we'll find out at some point soon.
Next up, Venom 2 set photos show off Cletus Cassidy's crazy new. What's that?
It's Cassidy.
Crazy new hairdo. So apparently Woody Harrelson has put on a different wig than he wore in the post the tag in the first Venom movie. So it's something different.
Probably still acting like Woody Harrelson, so it doesn't matter. Next up, Lock and Key IDW announces crossover with DC's Sandman universe. Which this seems like this should have gone in. I might have put this in the wrong section, but that's fine. So It's Not a Dream. IDW publishing the horror comic series Lock and Key will cross over to DC Comics' Sandman universe in October. I did actually put this in the wrong section, but that's fine. In a promotional video shared across various social media platforms, IDW officially announced Lock and Key, Hell and Gone, a Sandman universe crossover event co-published by DC. I was wondering where this article went to, and now I know. The crossover comes from Lock and Key's usual creative team of writer Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez. If you think you can unlock the gates of hell and just invite yourself in, you might be dreaming. IDW's post reads. Next up.
Vagrant Queen, everything you need to know about Syfy's newest series. All right, so you can follow our notes and find out about Sci-Fi or Syfy's newest series, Vagrant Queen.
So basically Magdalene Vizago wrote the comic that this is being adapted into. In fact, second issue of that comic came out this week, and this is basically giving you all the background of that stuff. So it seems interesting, the premise. It's almost like Killjoys at a certain strap, but I know it's not. So I don't know, I might check it out. Regardless, Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy Siege trailer arrives from Netflix, and it's nuts. Okay, I'm not going to say nuts, but it was a pretty good trailer. In the midst of ongoing war on Cybertron, forces of good and evil clash as they search for sources of their power. The Allspark. This may not be the life they imagined, but it's a life worth fighting, which I believe they say that exact thing in the trailer. Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy Siege is coming soon only on Netflix, and I don't believe it has anything to do with the web series, or it might be piggybacking on that, but I don't think it has any direct ties to the web series that has now been taken off the internet. Looks like. If you haven't seen the trailer, you should. It looks really good.
Okay.
It is the Hasbro partnership with Rooster Teeth, the red versus blue / ruby folks, amongst other things. Next up,
Power Rangers Beast Morpher Season 2 trailer brings back the original Red Ranger, Austin St. John or St. John as the original Red Ranger, playing Jason Scott in a sneak peek preview of Power Rangers Beast Morpher Season 2.
Now you got me thinking of Airwolf. Thanks. It is St. John though. So yeah, there was a trailer which is embedded in this
I was
article.
gonna say that's how he pronounces it, but that's not how St. John pronounced it.
I know that's what made me think of Airwolf. I'm like, why are you doing that? Why did y'all do that? What were y'all thinking? But anyway, St. John Smythe. Anyway, so this is a trailer, basically showing stuff that is coming up in the next season, or then near the end of the season of this iteration of Power Rangers, including the Red Ranger coming back, and looks like another team up with a whole bunch of other old Rangers, including some of the original Jokers, if that 2-second stint is to be believed. And also looks like the coming of the next season of Power Rangers. So you can check that out if you are so inclined. Next up.
All right. Very convenient Doctor Who video to catch you up on your Time Lord history before the finale. Yeah, still no thanks.
Wait, did you miss one?
Oh, did I jump over the Avatar?
Yeah, you did.
No, I read the Red Ranger one.
No. Oh, the Avatar one was next though.
Yeah, but I read the whatchamacallit, the Red Ranger one. So I guess we just didn't we didn't switch up to
Okay, you did the Doctor Who one, so yeah, you can check that out when there's a teaser trailer that'll catch you up on stuff before the finale if you're still watching Doctor Who. I know a lot of you are, and I haven't caught up, so it looks pretty good. But so we'll go back and say that Avatar: The Last Bender star Dante Basco needs the series to answer one last Zuko question, which, by the way, I believe the 15th anniversary of Avatar: The Last Bender, yes, has recently come up in the past week. And so I guess they asked Dante Basco, aka Rufio from Hook, apparently, because I never watched Hook, so anytime somebody talks about the dude, they bring that up. I'm like, he's Zuko to me, so it is what it is. Anyway, speaking with Comic Book Com's Megan Peters, star behind Zuko, Dante Basco revealed some of the questions he'd like to see answered about Zuko's life, including his love life at the end of Avatar, which I thought, like, basically it's like, is he going to get with Katara, or what happened with him and Mai, which probably would have been a better relationship, is a better relationship. I don't know, but but he would like to see some of that stuff answered, and he also recognized that some of that stuff has been answered in the comics of recent. But there's still some stuff he still has questions about. So I guess this is his way of saying, hey, if they decide to want to go back to do another animated stint to kind of answer some of these questions, he's game for it. That's my speculation. Next up.
Are we in the
We are now, I believe, in Spill Over, yes.
What I had originally read way back when, the first Dragon Ball English dub episode by Harmony Gold is now online. I should have taken this one and given you the last one. But yeah, so apparently some folks, I don't know why they did this. So apparently Harmony Gold was supposed to do a dub of Dragon Ball, the original Dragon Ball series, not Dragon Ball Z. And if you know anything about Harmony Gold, who did the dubbing for Robotech, which is a horrible dubbing, this one doesn't sound like it was that much better. And they even went so far as to change the names of all the characters, apparently. And I guess that stuff is that is still out there somewhere, but I don't know why anybody would dig that up. So, but if you're so inclined, you can go seek that out. I'm slightly curious on a scientific, for scientific reasons. Last but not least, you're the last one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I wish we had we had switched that one. But
turns.
Yeah. Honda dealership will pay you to binge the entire Fast and Furious franchise. So basically, some car dealership in Yonkers, of all places,
New York. It's not that far from me, just a quick drive.
Is offering one lucky fan, get this, $900, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was the price of my first car.
900. 900.
900. Not even a cool, not even a cool G spot. Like, not come on, you couldn't up another 100, like a grand.
No, I think it's because it's $100 per movie. That's
Yeah, I get that, but still, like, come on, make it worth it. Like, $100 for a movie. Like, I'm sure people will do it. And I even said on Twitter, it's like, you know what? I would probably do something like that for free, but at the same time, 900, like, that's almost not. I mean, granted, I'd take it, but especially at this point. But I'm like, that's kind of.
I mean, if you think about it, it's really not much per hour.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like, you got to make it worth the while. That's why I say at least add another 100 to it. But regardless, it is what it is. So it's offering one lucky fan $900 to watch the entirety of the Fast and Furious franchise. The rules for the Fast Saga when binge watch contests are fairly simple. Through May 6th, participants must go to Yonkers Honda website and fill out a brief survey. The winner will have to watch all 8 of the Fast and Furious films, as well as the recent spinoff Hobbs and Shaw, and chronicle their thoughts on Facebook and or Twitter.
That's the worst part, having to sit through Hobbs and Shaw.
In addition to the aforementioned $900 prize, though, the winner will also receive a $50 movie gift certificate and free concessions for when they go see Fast 9. And finally, Yonkers Honda will also send the winner a gift package of snacks and energy drinks to help them power through their marathon.
I would do this, man.
I kind of would too, but at the same time, like, make it a little more worth my while. Now, granted, 900 is not. If you ain't got $900, that's nothing to sneeze at. So I'm not like poo-pooing it, but at the same time, I don't know. Just one more 100. Not even asking for much. And again, like that, there are people that's probably doing this on just on principle, So,
but just because the next movie's coming out,
exactly. So yeah, I saw this and I was like, this is novel. I had to put this in the lineup.
It's also on CBR, so.
Well, yeah, but but they put a lot of stuff that doesn't seem
right
to, what they're known. But you got to diversify, folks. So I can't knock them for that. And with that, folks, we are at the end of the news, and at the end of the show, we have one more ad read.
Our last ad read of the night is for Blue Apron. Blue Apron's meal delivery service has fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron, always shipped free right to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. To place your first order with $30 off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcasts free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today.
And with that, we will say goodbye to another episode of the Comic Book Chronicles, and quite possibly say goodbye to Lightstream. Again, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Well, it is after midnight as if we're recording this, so it is now. This show has been around for 7 years.
7 years.
So
7.
Indeed, and hopefully we will have at very least many more, but I don't want to speculate that. But definitely a few more coming down the pike. And with that, we will see you folks again next week. And as such, my name is Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nurse Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram. I don't have a site for him yet, but we're getting him there. I don't know what's going on, what's the holdup is for him. I don't know, he's a busy man, but whatever. We'll get him out there. PCN_Dirt on Twitter, Pop Culture Net on Twitter, popculturenetwork.com, and all of his umbrella sites therein. And also he is on Bytes as CMCRVWS. That's comic reviews without the nasty vowel sounds. Tim DOGG98 on Twitter, DClick Nation on Twitter, CB Cron on Twitter, which is the Comic Book Chronicles Twitter accounts. theclicknation.com, as I said, DKLIQNATION, and of course, Comic Book Resources, where he's over there writing his face off. You can find this here podcast on the Coast Lizard Podcast Network, that's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
And you can also find this show on your podcast perusal place of choice, such as such as Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the Coast Lizard Podcast Network's SoundCloud page. We'll be back sometime. Well, we'll be back next week in some way, shape, or form on some platform, giving you this goodness again. More than likely, I don't know, could be Twitch, we'll still be on YouTube. We won't get it, but we have to figure out the logistics of how we do this because light streams is bugging. After we gave you the best year of our lives. Well, it's probably hadn't been a year yet, but regardless. This has been the Comic Book Chronicles, and I don't know if this is even going to work out, but we'll see. Peace.
One.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Good evening, Rick. Would you believe it's Dr. Doom?
What's on your evil mind?
Hold your insulting tongue and mark my words well.
How about this rumor that you are really hired, Mr. Stark?
Is still live?
Yes.
Lightstream is not going away quietly into the night. Still live?
Yes, it's because it's saying ending stream.
I can hear it.
Yeah,
Podcast
network.
Do it today.
Whoops. Oh, geez, Crease.
I guess it's just.
It's literally saying ending stream, but it has an ending straight and it's still counting.
All right, I'm just gonna log out.
Okay.
Peace.
Peace.